Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us as this is my first show of the week after getting back from UFO Con 2025. We're glad that you all are here. So make sure you check it out. If you go to UFO Con 2025, you can get the recordings there. But tonight we're talking about the Tridactyl mummies. Ed Casses is here. We're going to have some fun. Is it Casses or Casas? Casses or Cases? I can't hear you. You're muted. So here, quickly, I'll unmute you here. What did you say?
Casas would be probably better off.
There we go. Ed Casses is here, everybody. You guys are going to be blown away by his mustache and beard combination. I am like melting in jealousy here. Absolutely melting. Dirty Filth is here with another crazy cartoon. And we have each and every one of you, including Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position. Road Flare with a silver. Race Fan with a bronze medal tonight. SJ, how you doing? Laura Labs. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you can't talk about the mummies without a lot of lube. So Mel is lubing us up as we speak. Thank you, Mel, for that. JMJ12 is here. JMJ12 will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Zanos, how you doing? Jay Truthseeker, Walter Kochabinski, Pam Harris. Nice to see you all. Hi there, Corey. Deadfish has returned. Deadfish will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. T-Bone, my man, how are you? Mennonite Abe, nice to see you. Robert Lamoth, Operation Shutdown. Good to have you here. Javier, Crypted 559. I got to hang out with him all weekend. It was awesome. I love Javier, man. Hope you can make it to Vegas, Javier. That'd be awesome. May 1st to 5th. Phineas over on X, Matthew Goodka, and Marty Burback. Good to have you all here. Chris, Karen in the Woo Train. Algaray over on Twitch. 14 miles on the treadmill in 18 minutes to warm up for tonight's show. Yeah, just under a mile a minute. Wow. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. But just over a mile a minute, I guess. Teen, how are you? Nice to have you here. Fast Hemi, good to see you. And who else is here? Bar Madison, thanks for coming on in. Sweet Donna C, good to see you. And who is next on our list? Well, let's scroll on down. Who do we got? We got Cosmic Joe. We got Thomas Rock. We got Wolverine. How you all doing? Thanks for coming on in. I'm Hardcore. Good to have you here. And let's see here. Scrolling on down. Oob to Joe's Main. You've got mummies. Yeah, you do. Fapperoony, how you doing? As we continue on with our roll call, there's What in Tarnation? She showed up. What in tarnation is she doing here? Well, she's here. That's what it comes down to. And we're having fun tonight. Hey, why not? Why the heck not? We got about a minute to go here. I want to remind everybody the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis as well. You can get your Spaced Out Radio swag. I'm going to be introducing a sponsor coming up here later this week. You're going to like this because all of you will be in a draw each and every month. We're going to do some sort of trivia, but each and every month, this sponsor is going to be giving away something special and mailing it to you. It's going to be awesome. Mama Catherine, I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a wonderful night. Adventures with Beth, how are you? And let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you coming on in to join us to talk about Tridactyl mummies. Ed Casas is here. He is going to break it all down. This guy's an expert. Not only is he an expert, but man, does he have great facial hair. You'll have to watch the YouTube side to see this. I'm jealous. All right, we are in roll call right now on the YouTube side, so bear with us as we say hello to Frankie B. We say hello to Mike Bothwell. Thanks for coming on in, guys. And Skip to Malou, good morning to you. Fast Hemi again, how are you? Reminder, Super Chat is open. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So you can check it on out and wear our product proudly. Take a picture so we can post it on our website. Do me a favor, everybody. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. Around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Read the news wires. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travel Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities, helping the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show tonight as we are heading down to Peru. Ed Casses is going to join us from his home in Florida to talk about the Tridactyl mummies, the Nazca mummies, and whether or not they are real or not. Then in hour number 3, we'll kick things off with Swamp Dweller. Then Robin Haynes will be in here for the Crypted Q&A. So it's a good night tonight. And let's introduce our guest. Ed Casses possesses a bachelor's in Anthropology and Social Sciences with a certificate in ethnic studies from Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton. Casses is a former archaeologist from the now defunct Graves Museum of Archaeology and Natural History in Dania Beach, Florida, where he ran the education department. He later was the activities coordinator for the Palm Beach Museum of Natural History, where he also served as Paleo Tech for Paleo prodigy Bobby DePalma. Mr. Casses has also been employed as a history teacher and has worked as a tutor on the Seminole Indian Reservation in Hollywood, Florida. And tonight, we're going to take him down to Peru, or more like he's going to take us down to teach us all about Tridactyl mummies. Ed Casses, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Awesome. I am doing great. Thanks for having me. This is quite the opportunity. I appreciate this moment.
Being an anthropologist, obviously anything weird, strange, that is not of the, I guess, to use the term human variety, I mean, it's got to really pique your interest, not only as a scientist, but a student of the game as well. How did this all begin for you? Let's go back in time to when little Eddie was deciding what he wanted to do for a living. How did
That's great. I am glad you said that. Now, but before I do have one question. Have you had anyone else on yet about the Nazca mummies?
We have had a couple of people, and in fact, Ed, I have actually done voiceover work for 2 documentaries on it.
Oh, great. So you're a little bit into it yourself. So you're a little familiar. Okay, so let's go back with me then. Thank you for that little just hopefully I will be bringing a cultural side to the conversation tonight. I don't know who you had on previous to this. But for me, when I was a child, I was growing up in Bridgeport, Pennsylvania, and we were in a large home that was divided into several apartments. And one day in the yard, I pulled out of the ground a little tiny Egyptian shabti, a little tiny little mummy figure. Who knows if it was from the 20th century, or maybe there was a time when the mummies were popular in the early 1900s. I don't think it mattered where or when it was from truly. But to that 8-year-old kid, it said to me, wow, things like on Scooby-Doo, you can find these things in real life. And I think that was a good start for me. But the journey continued from there. And I'll tell you how it continued. I had a couple of great aunts. They were Aunt B and Aunt Marcella. So they were my mom's aunts. And now, mind you, In Search Of was on, right? In Search Of with the famous Patterson video.
Yes.
Of course, my dear mother is like, that's fake. But anyway, back to her aunts. They gave me the Time Life book collection, where one book was primates, one book was evolution, one book was early man. And there, as I opened the pages to early man, what did I see in there but figures that looked like Bigfoot? So that said to me, like, oh, wait a minute here. There is some science here. It's not a complete fake. Something happened. And then I do want to thank my mother's sister for taking me to the Native American Museum in upstate New York, because that definitely spawned some, I would say, empathy in other cultures and other peoples. And that is definitely an important part of anthropology. When I was in high school, I used to skip high school. And where did I go when I skipped school? The Natural History Museum, of course. I think I'd rather be self-taught, But later on, growing up, I was doing some acting, and I do still acting now. I just left a set on Sunday. But I was doing acting in the early 90s, and I was like, I don't want to go to school for drama. And why don't I go to school for something I'm interested in? All this stuff leading up from being a kid. And I decided to major in anthropology because the only A I ever got at the 2-year college was an A in anthropology. All my social studies and geography and history, all those classes I did well in. Let's not talk about math.
I want to ask you, before we get to the mummy, you brought up there for a second, and that is a real passion of mine, my friend.
What is?
Bigfoot.
Oh, yes.
What is your thoughts of what Bigfoot is? Because I know anthropologists who believe that it could be some sort of hybrid from Gigantopithecus, but seems to be a real supernatural, spiritual side to this. Have you ever looked into what Bigfoot is?
Well, a couple of things. When I was president of the anthropology club at FAU, we helped welcome Jane Goodall to the school. And I'll tell you what, I get a little choked up because we did a chimpanzee greeting, so the whole auditorium hooted for her. And it's just, what a great thing to experience. She, of course, has suggested that this is a very real possibility that these things could be around. I've had various theories. The Gigantopithecus theory is a great theory. I think it goes with the Yeti. We have the whole Pacific Rim there for these things to sort of work their way around. But now, of course, with the Tridactyls involved, everything is connected in my brain. So maybe my theory on Bigfoot is a little different now. But I would like to say I did take a nice 7-mile hike through the Everglades, got lost. And when I say hike on a trail, that means half of the trail up to your knees was water. Okay. And I am happy to say that you can see my footprint pictures at the BFRO.org website. And so I have my own footprints there from Collier County. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So do you want me to still answer what I think they are?
Yes, please. I mean, while we're here.
Well, I mean, especially, and we'll have to start dipping into the Tridactyls, though, especially with the DNA of Maria. Maria has multiple primate DNA within her. And of course, we're all familiar with the elongated heads of South America, the Paracas skulls. And we know Patty's head has that quite the sagittal crest, right? So to me, it's starting to look like all this phenomena is related. And yeah, I think somebody's been messing around in the DNA cookie jar, it feels like. I don't know the whole science of that part, my friend, but that's what it's looking like to me, is that there is a relationship here. Of course, there's the myths of the Nephilim and giants and all of that stuff as well. And have you seen some of these studies that pinpoint Bigfoot sightings with underground cave areas? Have you seen those overlay maps?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
So that would go along with the phenomena that we're talking about this evening. The cave systems.
I'm trying to figure out how that plays in.
Okay, because with the Tridactyls we're going to be talking about in North America, probably the most common name you're going to find for them in North America, you said little people, I think, before the show, is the ant people. And so one of the reasons they're called the ant people is, besides the sort of pareidolia likeness, is they're coming from underground. They live in the subterranean realms.
That would mean that there is an inner earth.
Yeah. And, isn't there, and again, hard science is not my forte. I'm the cultural guy. I'm the social studies teacher. But isn't there an under surface layer of water as well?
Fresh water, yeah.
So, well, of course, the aquifer. Yeah, we have that. But no, I thought what I understood, there was another deeper layer of water, and that perhaps something like a flood could happen if the water from within the earth comes up. I don't know. You'll have to get a geologist on for that one.
I have a geologist in my chat room.
Oh, good. Let him answer. I was with a Russian geologist when we went to, we did a survey of the Miami Circle. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a big coral circle on a little peninsular part of the land down in Miami. And there's evidence definitely of the Calusa Indians living down there, or perhaps it was the Tequesta, and there's perhaps grinding holes there. It's just an interesting site. Look it up sometime, Miami Circle. Who knows? Maybe the circle was some other landing zone, perhaps. I don't know. Another thing I don't get into too much with the Tridactyls, because you have to keep in mind, before 2023, I wasn't a fan of the Bible. I scoffed at reptilians, and I didn't want to hear another Anunnaki documentary. Sorry, I was done. Now, with the evidence of bodies fueling my research, it's like all of that is now this crazy cocktail, a mix of systems now, where I'm trying to pick which parts were accurate within some of these stories and which ones were perhaps exaggerations. And it's been an interesting time. Going back to my anthropology class, since we were telling sort of my origin story, what brings me to this whole thing is back in 2002, and this is the weird part. I remember asking my professor about this very particular point. And how many classes did I take? How many questions did I take? What questions did I ask? Why do I remember this question? And I asked my professor, I believe it was Dr. Kennedy. I said, Dr. Kennedy, is there a connection between the Bella Coola, heart-shaped faces, tridactyl-limbed beings in Canada, and the Taino people of the Caribbean and their heart-shaped petroglyphs and their three-fingered petroglyphs? And he said, no, there is no connection. That's something that they usually attribute. Establishment archaeology calls that independent innovation. That means each separate culture, thousands of miles apart, decided to draw the same thing. Galactic coincidence.
I live about 4.5 hours north.
Well, congratulations. You live 4.5 hours away from, see, now that's a good excuse for me to come up. Let's go see the Bella Coola petroglyphs.
Obviously, you've never traveled the road there.
Hellish, huh?
It is about a 19-mile gravel road because they have. It's not.
I've seen it. I've seen the gravel road. I already had that in my head. So yeah.
Yeah, I have never driven it. I know people who have, and it is apparently like there's quite a sharp edge on it. You know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Should we rent some like 4x4 ATVs or something?
Oh no, we have those.
Oh, okay.
We have those. I rent them. But you do not speed down this road when you're going down. Because
I'll bet. You go off the side, eh?
Oh, I didn't even know they were there, man.
Now you know. See, that's why I'm here tonight, right? So congratulations. You happen to be where one of the impetuses to my entire research is based on the Bella Coola petroglyphs and the Taino petroglyphs of the Caribbean, because that's how I got involved. You know, the Nazca mummies came across my timeline like everybody else's, and I think I dismissed it. It was actually my girlfriend who said, "Hey, did you see these? You might want to look into these." And then after doing the research and literally talking to some of these people and seeing the evidence for myself, there was a moment where it was like one of those light moments that sort of, I hate to say it was like a spiritual awakening. Oh, and I said, oh shit, oh sugar. I said, oh sugar, we remember, sorry about that. I see like delete. I remember those figures from class.
I'm still blown away right now.
So that's how I got involved, because I said to myself, oh, that's those things in the class that I asked questions about 23 years ago. Now, that was just the start, of course, but I love to bring that up as it's very important, those two cultural locations. And it started to dawn on me. I'm like, oh, all these figures are all over the place, and we've just been dismissing them as coincidence because no one's bothered to say, hey, this is the same phenomena. Let's give it all the same name. And so I've been using the term specifically cordiform faces or heart-shaped faces, because the Tridactyl's supraorbital arches form a heart shape.
So I'm just looking up Bella Coola here. The Nuxalt people, they practiced mummification going back thousands of years.
I didn't even know that they did mummification.
Yeah.
Nice. Fine.
They would often use cedar bark or other natural materials to prevent decomposition.
Could be the same. Could be the same burial rites for all we know. Just
my goodness. Just
regionally different.
This is just incredible, man. I never knew. I never knew. That is so weird.
Tell me about it. There's more to come.
You know, this is truthful here. When you go to Bella Coola, you never stray off the streets, because if you go one block over each way, there are grizzly bears that walk right into town.
That's what I was afraid of. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
You have to be careful there.
The alligators around here stick to themselves. We just have a coyote maybe once in a while.
Oh, coyotes are everywhere here. Coyotes are absolutely everywhere. But, oh, man, I didn't expect you to blow my mind this early in the show, my friend.
I know, right? We got 2 hours still.
Hey, like, come on. What are you doing here? We got 5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Ed Casses is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. we're going to get into the mummies in the next half hour because we're going to go deep down the rabbit hole with that. But for you, as you kind of engulf yourself in this, I want to ask you a little bit far off question here then. Do you think that alien life forms are us from the future? Do you think that they've always been here? Dimensions, time travel, outer space? Because the reason why I ask that is a good friend of mine and a good friend of this show, Dr. Michael P. Masters from Montana Tech University, he believes that they could be extraterrestrials, which are time travelers from the future, which are us.
I have trouble wrapping my head around time travel. I'm a little bit as speculative and as hyperbolic as some of these theories are. Time travel I cannot accept. My theory I call the constant companion theory, and so my theory is that there is evidence of them being with us for a very long time, and we can look at various benchmarks of this involvement with us. But I think they've been with us a very long time, and so hence the constant companion theory. And even as far as aliens go, it's my opinion, I call these things terrestrials.
Terrestrials?
Yes.
Okay, why terrestrials?
Now, is if you're familiar with the word, is an ancient city, correct?
Okay.
Is the ancient city of Sumer, so it's frequently used as a sort of a term to represent an ancestor or a basal culture or whatever the trait could be. And so I adopted terrestrial as opposed to the Harvard guys. They had the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis, but I didn't think crypto really worked because I know who they are. They're the Tridactyls, and we're going to tell you more about who they are specifically, down to their homeland, their culture, and maybe even who's in charge around here.
It's always about who's in charge. My goodness. But I mean, doesn't that mean then that we have almost been implanted on this beautiful earth?
Implanted, seated, implanted. We have to keep in mind, and like, we're gonna off and on. We're gonna get into the woo tonight. What about this planet here? What did this planet have to do with everything? Right? We like everything's random, and sometimes we talk about outside intervention, but is it possible that the planet itself is generating the life with the help of panspermia, perhaps?
Could be, but
is Earth the egg? Right?
No, that could be.
Earth is an egg, and it's waiting for the galactic panspermia to do its thing. And maybe these little buddies here are just the constant gardeners.
How would we have evolved then? Would that mean that we actually do come from apes?
Oh yeah, we're definitely yeah. Well, come from apes, of course, it can rub people wrong, even the way you put it that way. It's more of if you're looking at Maria at the very least, again, Maria is alluding to something mixing with the local primates. And so you can say we're from apes, but we can also say that we're from the ancestors. Because I think in the future, we've moved on. I knew we weren't going to call them reptilians. So I adopted Tridactyls a year and a half ago. I looked on Thierry Jamin's site, the-alien-project.com, and I saw that they were using Tridactyls for one of their videos, and I said, okay, I'm on the right track. But we're not going to call them reptilians. I knew that wasn't going to work. And Tridactyls might not even work for so long. We may just segue into something more pleasant and more explanatory, such as the ancestors.
And on that note, we're going to get you to take a break right there. Ed Casses is our guest tonight. Tridactyl mummies, the Nazca mummies, and everything in between when we return on Spaced Out Radio. This is going to be an interesting night. We'll join you right after the break.
All right, I'll take a break too.
All right, we are clear. Had a good time in San Francisco. I got to post more pictures yet. I haven't done that yet. I got to hang out with gorgeous Kim Jellin on Sunday. Her teeth were looking incredible. She said she had freshly flossed right beforehand, which was cool. It was great to see her again. Robert was there. Robert Anthony. He's in the chat room sometimes. A few others who listen but don't participate in the chat room were there. It's a good time. I got a weird story to tell you about it. That'll come in hour 3 when Robin gets here. So I come back to work my daytime job today. I got home at about 10:30 last night. Come back to my daytime job today, and my boss said, "Oh, by the way, yesterday I decided to change your hours. You now work 9 to 6 instead of 9 to 5. 9 to 6. Frig. I'm like, come on. It's like, apparently I'm not allowed to rest in life. David, any time were you in your underwear covered in Cheeto dust? No, that's my buddy Little Marky Spender who does that, Fast Hemi. Not me. I don't eat Cheetos. Doesn't Dirty Filth have impressive arm hair? Here's a funny one for you. I actually got approached. I was hanging out with Ron Felber. No, it was Brian Jackson. Brian Jackson. He had great hair, and I kept on pointing it out. He's like, "Dude, what's with the hair thing?" He goes, I listen to your show quite a bit when I'm going for my walk in the morning." He goes, "What's with the hair and beard thing?" And I said to him, I said, "You know what?" I said, "Anybody can talk about anything. But see, here you are having this conversation with me about hair and beards. It's a good icebreaker. It's what it is." Joe, I'm not caught up in my social media yet since I got back. I had 3 soft tacos and a Baja Blast at midnight on Friday night. Me and Lori and Fenton, that's our tradition. That first night, we always have Taco Bell. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. By the way, I think it was on X. Somebody sent me a picture of their cat watching SOR. Email your pictures. If you have pictures just like that, or you're in our swag or whatever, email our pictures or your pictures to tim@spacedoutradio.com. tim@spacedoutradio.com. I did not eat breakfast for dinner there. I don't do that. Nope. CS, how you doing? All right, we got about 30 seconds. My beard shape brings all the boys to the yard. That's funny, Josephus. And here we go. Here we go, the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Stark. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Before we bring back our guest, Ed Casses here, I got to tell you, I was driving home from San Francisco in UFO Con, and I'm just doing my thing. But all day it felt like there was something jammed between my teeth. You know when you get that feeling, and like it's always happens when you don't have one of them little dental sticks or dental floss. And usually I carry dental floss when I travel. So I'm kind of picking at my teeth, trying to, on the drive home, going through the mountains, singing away to whatever was on the stereo. And I'm picking at my teeth, and a chunk of my tooth broke off. It was a chunk of my tooth, my second bottom left, second tooth in. A chunk of my tooth broke off. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And now, you notice like a day later, like after you notice, your tongue is always going into that spot. That drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely nuts. So here I am trying to figure out what's going on with my tooth and making sure that I don't drive off a cliff as I'm going through the mountains. Man, it was uncomfortable. Absolutely uncomfortable. So now I got to try and get to the dentist. Now, I don't mind going to the dentist. My dentist is pretty cool. He's an old hippie. He's got a good beard. Wears a giant belt buckle that's almost the size of a hubcap. But he's got property and he rides horses, so I guess he's allowed to. But nonetheless, at least it's not sharp. You know when you break a tooth and usually you get that like sharp edge on it? Yeah. I don't know where that went, man. I don't know where that went. Big chunk of my tooth coming on out. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Because there's something about going to the dentist. Like, I like going to the dentist. I'm not one of these people who fears going to the dentist. But when they like literally pry your jaw open so you look like one of those mouths off of Beetlejuice with the eyeballs coming out. Yeah. I don't like that feeling. That doesn't feel good at all when they do that. I thought I may have lost a filling, but I don't think so. It's the wrong tooth. And the thing is, I didn't eat anything hard. You know, like I didn't accidentally, you know, when I was eating chicken wings, I didn't accidentally hit, you know, chew on a bone, or I didn't accidentally bite something hard that would cause that, you know? So I don't know what happened there. All I know is I'm missing about a third of my tooth now. But at least it's smooth. None of those rigid sides, you know?
What are you doing with the tooth thing?
I'm trying to figure out how I broke my tooth on the way home. Right? But I'm pretty particular about my teeth.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm 55 or 50. How old am I? 51. I still got all my original teeth. So I'm all good.
Wow, that's good.
And I survived hockey. So
No doubt.
Okay. That's okay. Ed Casses is here. Guy's a scientist. He's an anthropologist. We're going to get into the Tridactyl mummies with him. Ed, before we even get started on the Tridactyl mummies and breaking it down, why don't you fill us in on what the Tridactyl mummies are?
Yeah, that's a great segue. I think we ended at a great spot. We gave a nice little cultural tease, right? So yeah, let's get into a little bit more of the actual biological science of what these things are, because there is a lot of confusion. I would like to say, as a sort of couple of disclaimers. One, apparently there is no peer-reviewed science paper in an esteemed research paper. I want to put that out so we don't have the naysayers saying that over and over again. Okay, there are reports, but where the papers are, the journals are, where the papers are published, there's some question about their legitimacy, and some of the key researchers have not published a paper. That also being said, an inspiring person to me is Cliff Miles and the Miles paper, who is a known paleontologist, a published paleontologist. And it was one of his first reports that I was able to get my hands on and delve into. And being that, of course, I've worked with paleontologists such as Bobby DePalma, who you can see on BBC with Attenborough. This kid helped discover the CT extinction line, finding some silicone spheres, microscopic silicone spheres. This kid's pulled out, I say kid because he's younger than me, mosquitoes and amber. He's the real Jurassic Park. So I'm proud to say that I was with him. We did what's called Dinosaurs Alive in New Jersey, on the New Jersey shores. And I played his tech, and I was able to crawl into crates and press up giant Triceratops skulls for him. So that's a nice memory there. So we're talking about Cliff Miles being a paleontologist. He did not publish a paper on the Tridactyls. He did write a report, and he is a published, legitimate paleontologist from Canada. How you like that? Another connection, right?
I'm good with that.
So him, and I would say the Russian Korotkov, his testimony, and then ultimately, it's one of those things you wonder how things happen or don't happen. But a Dr. Jose Zalce Benitez testified to his Mexican Congress with a slideshow presentation and two of the bodies themselves. And now when we say bodies, these are two of the smaller bodies. We'll get into that a little bit. But he is the forensic anthropologist for the Mexican Navy, coming before his people, his government, saying, this is what I found. This is what we have. Now, if we all go around calling it an alien, that becomes hyperbolic and people will lose interest. And I don't think alien works, as I mentioned. I don't think that works anymore, any more than something like saying reptilian would work. But I think the controversy should have stopped there with that forensic anthropologist. Because for me, being in the museum business, being having my degree and knowing these people, with those two, it's kind of what I do, right? A little bit of anthropology, a little bit of paleontology. With those two guys telling me something, I felt like I was in good hands. But more importantly for me on the personal level is, yes, I recognized the petroglyphs, but I understood what they were pointing out. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. Right? So what are these things? So this is a resin cast of a 3D printed head that supposedly scanned from, I don't know what's the background of the actual file, but supposedly the scan of the Tridactyl known as Josephina. So it's good to use the specimens' names because there are also 2 dolls that were confiscated at the airport by the Ministry of Culture in Peru. Supposedly, again, right, I am just what am I third hearsay here? Because I am not a hands-on physical researcher. I am a cultural researcher on my virtual dig, bringing you guys with me, right? So, I'm sorry, where was I on about that last part? I lost my train of thought.
You're going through the whether or not that was a real skull or
yeah. So we're going to work with it. We're going to assume that this is a scam because the features are there, and I would like to talk about the features while I have Josephina here. So, I know what I was on about. Be aware of the 2 dolls that the Ministry of Culture have, and that's what I was going to say. Disclaimer: I don't know what they have specifically either way, but to be clear. Their own government has required, I think just this week, that if they study those 2 dolls or whatever they were, then cough up the study because they've said they studied them, but they haven't proven it. So the Ministry of Culture have acted as an antagonist in much of this, attempting to stop a lecture on the Tridactyls in the hopes of confiscating the specimens. Now, the specimens, keep in mind, have been already drawn out of the country by the Huaquero grave diggers. So supposedly that's how these things maybe have gotten to Mexico and to Europe and to supposedly a Russian oligarch has some of these things. So we're back to this head here. This is supposed to be the actual size. And you know what? Measured up. I think we did a pretty good job because keep in mind too, I also had to give information to the printer, right? Let's look at this though. This is it. Imagine this, if you will. It's hard to tell in some of the pictures that this is how big these things are.
What is that, about 3 inches? 3-inch skull?
So I'm glad you say that because I found a Taino artifact that the measurements, well, of course it looks like this. The measurements match this. So it's just a little bit over 5 inches this way, 3 inches this way at the widest part, and 4 inches that way, I believe. Yeah. Height. So what's important, of course, what you're going to look for at Bellacula, right, is the cordiform shaped face, the heart-shaped face. So the supraorbital arches form your big, your humps of your heart, and then it draws in as such. Do you see that? Do you see the heart shape?
Yes, the head, front of the face for our radio audience, it's kind of shaped like a heart from the eyebrow on down.
And I thought the elongated head was unusual, but it does kind of look like Homo longi, which coincidentally is known as the Dragon Man. So the Dragon Man skull of China does kind of resemble this with this pronounced occipital bump. Now, what's interesting, if you're familiar, there is a llama skull theory that was going around. And I don't know, I feel bad for these researchers because I'm sure back in like 2007 or 2019, they were done talking about llama skulls. But since the story got to the US in like 2023, everybody's arguing llama skulls again, right? And, one of the ways that I was able to say this can't be a llama skull is this little indentation here, which I later found out from the researchers is pneumatic. So that means it is a porous chamber. But I recognize this little space here, and the llama skull that they kept using was that of an adult male llama with a pronounced sagittal crest. And what I mean by the sagittal crest, a ridge running up the top of the skull. And it ran right from these ridges here, right above the head, right above the eyes. And so it was impossible for the llama skull and the tridactyl skull to be the same thing because of that pneumatic space, that concave space that I gave the name of the kappa. And if you look up the Japanese yokai monster creatures, the kappa, maybe that's a good way for the audience. The audience could, of course, can be going to tridactyls.org. That's not my site. That is the researcher's site. Or they can be going to the-aliens-project.com. Those two guys are the main research pages. I'm tridactyls.com if you want the fun cultural stuff. But if you want the hard science in the bodies, go see those guys, right? So we were talking about the head here. While we're at it, why don't we just see what else we can see on the face? Yeah, so of course the arches are important. That kappa, there was another paleontologist guy who said, hey, if these things were new, they'd have to come up with new names for things. Well, I had to come up with something for this concave space here, which turns out to be pneumatic, super interesting. And actually, I think the occipital bump is also pneumatic. Other features. These side bones here is a temporal process. So we have those also. It runs along our jaw and around near our ear. It's kind of a pronounced triangular point when you look at him. And then at the base of his nose here, you'll see on some of the better pictures, this upper jaw, the maxillary plate, has a sort of a triangular look to it, a trapezoidal look to it. So those sort of things help me when I'm looking in the artifacts to find evidence of these beings. And by the way, I have great news for you tonight. I almost got a little emotional because I can share this with you. I've been given permission to share with you the medical DICOM files of Montserrat.
Oh, wow.
So we'll save that maybe for the end.
We could do that.
So
I want to ask you in regards to that,
mm-hmm.
that skull. Okay. Have you held one or seen one up close and personal, one of the real ones?
I have not. I've been attempting to try to get to Peru. Originally, I tried to get a team together, but guess what? My dear friend Bobby DePalma that I spoke of, and another archaeologist friend of mine who's taken himself down the Nile alone, trading watches and oranges, and taken himself down the Amazon as well. Might as well get both rivers, this guy, right? Both of these two will not return my calls. And so I couldn't put a team together, so I was kind of deflated. And now I'm actively pursuing, right now, as we speak in real time, with the people that at tridactyls.org.
Okay.
I am trying to get down there now. Yeah.
Why do you think they're real? Because there is so much controversy about whether or not these are real little mummies or whether or not it was the head of a fetus put together with other body parts from other animals. I mean, there's all sorts of debate on this. What makes you convinced these are real?
So that's a fair question as well. Well, what is being said to the fact of them not being real is very little evidence. There are people who are speaking on hearsay. They are going on gossip. They're going by the Ministry of Culture and their statements, which we believe are based on dolls. And I think in the very near future, what you're going to see is that Ministry of Culture is going to have to cough up or shut up. And they're going to either present nothing, at which point the ball goes to the American team, likely the McDowells of Colorado, who are also forensic guys, anthropologists, who are going to start the process properly, we hope, with the proper technology. Now, you're asking, why do I? Now, again, we don't even have to worry about my beliefs. I suggest that everyone find a copy of the Cliff Miles paper, look at the pictures, the x-rays, and listen to a paleontologist describe what he's seeing, an actual expert more than myself, and watch the testimony of Dr. Zalces Benitez when he presents CT scans of fleshly beings. Here's the thing also, people are not using their own eyes. For me, you can look at the CT scans and see flesh and blood. You can see bone structure yourself. Now there are skeptics of astute learning who point out anomalous junctures, joints, and anomalous features. However, we mentioned the reptilians. In my research, here's the thing: these aren't reptilians, because Cliff Miles noticed, as did Zalce Benitez, there are no lungs. So what does that tell you? The beings have no lungs. Any idea?
No.
They're not reptilians. They're likely amphibians. So if they're amphibians, then there is a chance of metamorphosis. These beings have been injured. There are implants. There are wounds. So any other anomalous features within the morphology could be explained as such. The other thing why I like to mention the names of the beings is because there are like 20 different specimens. I don't think the dolls have names. There are 20 different specimens. So if you say the hands are fake, well, you got to tell me, which specimen, which hand. It's not that's not how science works. You cannot just cast your net and say this is all BS. So again, there's no lungs. Ready? What else do we got? And thanks again, Cliff Miles. A furcula. Do you know what a furcula is?
No.
My museum, we welcomed one of the first displays about furculas, and it had to deal with, I think, a small raptor. Well, I don't know if you see a furcula for your Thanksgiving, but we see it every Thanksgiving here, and that's the wishbone. So these beings have a fused clavicle, a wishbone. So far we have what? No lungs, which would mean cutaneous respiration, which means also likely cutaneous waste removal. And we have a furcula, which we find in turkeys and some dinosaur species. What do you think of those two facts, or three if you count the cutaneous waste disposal?
That's very interesting, because you would expect those, if this was some sort of human, you would expect those to be in there.
You wouldn't. You expect the lungs to be in there, right?
Especially, yeah.
So do you want some more unusual morphology?
Well, we have about 2 minutes to go here, and I would like to ask one question before that. What about genitalia? Is there genitalia?
So we have a cloaca, is what I know of. I think a biologist, Jose, that's a great question. Maybe while the break, I can research that. I think the biologist, Jose, detected, perhaps, I'm not sure about that. I'm going to leave that one unknown. We got a cloaca and we've got eggs. Right? Are you familiar with the eggs?
Yes.
Yes. So we've got at least two specimens. I think more counting the the even smaller ones. Multiple eggs.
So these aren't even human at all.
They may be still partially human. And I say that because there is another specimen with even more primitive features. They call them the insectoid, and that is really a gross misnomer. You shouldn't even repeat that. I mean, I'm trying to use the term xenomorph, which of course brings, the images of the Ridley Scott aliens creature. But I mean, or proto-amphibian, perhaps that could be another term. We may have to be continued on the morphology, huh? So we're going to leave it at cutaneous respiration and the tridactylism, of course, right? So those are two signs of amphibianism. And the furcula, which is like a bird or a dinosaur. You having fun?
You're making my brain melt right now. The worst thing, Ed, that could happen in radio is dead air. And the problem that I'm having here is as you're speaking, I'm trying to wind up my brain in order to figure out how this would look, in my own sense. How am I making sense of it? I'm sure I'm not alone with my audience, but you know what? The best part about it is we have a break coming up. We're going to get to actually think about this. Ed Casses is our guest tonight, an anthropologist in Florida. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Ed, if you're listening in the background, we got about 5.5 minutes. We'll bring in Dirty Filth.
Me. Hi, Dave. Bye, Dave. There he goes. Okay, so I had to look. Hello, everybody in the chat room. Glad that you're here tonight. And thanks for listening to the show and watch me draw cartoons. This one is Carl and Alan in Peru 1,000 years ago. And Carl's saying, "So what if we bury Grandma here? No one will know." And then Alan says, "I have a bad feeling about this, Carl." And then they just bury Grandma on the top of Peru, and then now look at alien mummies. Good job, Carl. So I figured it'd be funny. I was gonna actually draw like a little mummy in the ground, but yeah, keep it a little bit civil, I guess. Hello, Mark Sanchez. Hope you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Hope you're doing good, buddy. I'm cheering for you all the time, man. And hi, Hillbilly Herb and Bob Perkins. Ooh, hey, Bob. Look at these hands, Bob. Look at them. Look at those hands, Bob. Screenshot that. Put it in your collection. If Bob, if I ever die, I'll put in my will that they just gotta sever my hands, pickle them, and then mail them to you. Put it with your severed hand collection. It's probably got one. I got a dirt collection. I collect dirt from all over the world. Whenever my friends go places, I tell them to bring me dirt back. I got dirt from like Poland and lava dirt and yes, or lava rocks rather. They're really smooth. And I got some English dirt and yeah, it's interesting. Thanks, Bob. I had Uncle Bob. He was a good guy. And hey, Pops, if you're listening, thanks for taking me out for chicken wings last night. I really appreciate it. Like 750 whiskeys. Much appreciated. 38 vodkas. Thanks, Dad. Love you. Oh, by the way, next Monday, I'm going to have some special gifts here. Oh, they're not gifts, but they'll be for sale. A friend of mine and I, Fox Vegas, been working on these for a little while. I can get one out here real quick. It's a little plushy alien, and comes with an original cartoon, original handmade plushy alien, incredibly soft. There's only one of these things ever being made in the entire universe. That's it. Well, there's technically three of them. There's Carl, Stanton, and Alan, and they each have a picture that comes with them. And yes, it was a little project we were working on. And we got Alan here. He's got his little classified folder, his dossier, and then Stanton as well. Look at that. It's Carl, Alan, and Stanton. They each come with a picture. If you're perhaps interested in one, they're absolutely like first come, first served. So all the adoption papers will be ready on Monday. And if you want to, just send an email to fylth@fylthy.com, filth@filthy.com. And yeah, whoever wants one, we're selling them for $140 Canadian. So it's cheaper if you live in America. Yes. It's these are really awesome. I have a Mothman made as well. She's great. Oh, hey, look at that. Yes. There's a Mothman, and she also does zombunnies. If you want some hideous, deplorable, adorable zombunnies, you can get those. Hey, Dave, look, it's Carl, Stanton, and Alan.
I know. We're going to make a trade for one of those.
It's $10 million now. The demand just went up. Filthy shades of gray. Oh, boy. I am writing that down. Filthy shades of gray.
How you doing? The Hawaiian shirted Mark Sanchez. How you feeling today, buddy? Give us an update. You're the best, Filthy.
Thanks, Dave. I'm going to go give the cat snacks.
You go.
Have a good night, everybody. Love you, Dave. Bye.
Dirty Filth, everybody. Watch him just blank out, just like nothing happened. Big thank you tonight to T-Bone, Candace, and Pam for the wonderful super chats. We greatly appreciate your love and support. Thank you. And don't forget, you could shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. K-Van S, welcome to SOR chat. You made those. Those are awesome. Those are awesome. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you listening in wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. ZEC. ZEC is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to bring back our guest, Ed Casses, here momentarily. But first, I want to remind you that at the end of the month, if you're in the Nebraska area or you want to travel to Nebraska, I will be speaking at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference at the end of this month. It is in Grand Island, Nebraska. Just watch out for tornadoes. I learned that last year when literally my flight was delayed by like 27 hours. We got turned around in the air trying to get there. But unfortunately, there was tornadoes on the ground and thunderstorms all over the place. So we had to divert back to Dallas. Gross hotel they put us in, too. Ugh. I don't know what American Airlines was thinking there. But nonetheless, if you want to go there, I am going to be doing a presentation on Flight 21. Yes, the scary Flight 21 crash site, where since 2018, we have been chased out of the forest twice by Sasquatch. We have been seeing UFOs. We had an alien, a UFO landing, disembodied voices, ghosts. I'm going to be talking about it all. And just like UFO Con this past weekend where I was, we had a number of Spaced Out Radio listeners there. And I'd love to see some of you guys come down to Nebraska as we continue on with the tour. I'm not doing many speaking engagements this year. So this will be a good one. I promise you, it will be a good one. Go to Google, type in Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. The website comes right up, and you can get your tickets there. Last year, there was like 400 plus people in attendance when I spoke. Biggest crowd I've ever spoken in front of. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Robin Haynes, we'll talk to her in just a little bit. Well, in hour number 3 when she is here. She helps put on the event, and we are going to make sure that we have some time to chat about that. I'm excited. I'm excited to get back down there. I'm excited to try and make things work with this presentation. I'll be honest with you. I don't usually get nervous about presentations because, I present the radio show each and every night. But this one, I don't want to get it wrong. I really don't want to get it wrong because there is so much. And when you're using like the slide form presentations, it's something that, how can I put it? You sometimes get so caught up with what you're saying is that you actually forget your bullet points on what you want to talk about. And I'm really hoping that that doesn't happen this year. So this coming weekend, I'm literally going to be sitting in my office all day and all night getting this thing ready, making sure that it is picture perfect because I have to. I have to do that. I want to tell this story so well. And especially with me going on my first ever research project that I will be doing regarding this event, which I'm starting next month because I think all the snow in the area will be melted by then. And I want to make sure that I am ready for it. I want to make sure that I'm ready for this investigation. I really do. So hopefully I get it right. It'll be good. It'll be good. I'm going to tell the stories of myself, Merle, and Samantha Mowat out there the last couple of years. What kicked it off in 2018, the gifting site in 2020, and all of the strangeness that's happened the last couple of years there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. And I love being able to present that story because it's something that the world hasn't even heard yet. Outside of you guys listening, because I know you guys have heard me talk about it so much on this show that you're probably rolling your eyes like, yeah, I got to make this work. Yeah, Dave, we've heard this all before. But now I'm going to be able to get into some serious research with it. Hopefully it works out. We're just waiting for our guest, Ed, to rejoin us here. There he is. Ed, what's happening, my man?
Speak his name and he will appear.
Oh, I was waiting for your beautiful beard to get back.
I was going to let you. I interrupted you last time in your truth story. So.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Ed, we're talking about the Nazca mummies here. A lot of these have been found by grave robbers. How can we trust that they are not just doing it for the money that they get?
Oh, they definitely are. They're definitely, because they're ultimately they were looking for gold. They didn't want to deal with these things, but once they found them, they didn't know what to do with them, and so they brought them to through connections to Theory, the adventurer who's looking for lost city Patiti. And but we don't have to worry about those guys so much. Once the bodies are in our hands, and we now have forensic anthropologists and paleontologists with CT scans and X-rays. And tonight we're going to look at the medical DICOM files. These are only the permission was only released to universities and researchers like myself. And so I asked if I could share it with your show tonight. So you'll be able to see with your own eyes, and people can make their own decisions of this. But keep in mind that the hands-on researchers have found no evidence of incisions or manipulations because here's the thing. There's going to be several layers of skepticism. One layer is going to be they're fake, they're cake, right? The second layer is going to be, okay, they're real. Okay, so they cut the fingers off of them. Oh, they didn't cut the fingers off of them? Okay, well, then it's a random mutation. And so the way I see it, it's the skeptics who keep moving the goalposts, and we don't have to play that game with them. We can look at the next morphology that I was going to mention, which is a gastralia. Gastralia. What the heck is that? So these beings, the little ones, keep in mind again, we're talking about at least 3 to 4 different specimens that may possess different degrees of human DNA. My favorites are the little ones, you know, these are the grays, the little people, the fairy folk, all of that stuff. So that's what we're talking about right now, because if we looked at their morphology, and I think, to be honest with you, I think they focused on the more human hybrid because it was an easier goal to attain. These things are really far out, but they have a gastralia, which is a sort of abdominal rib, they give it the name, because these beings have, well, the shape of an omega. Their rib cage is shaped like an omega. It is a almost near circular round rib cage. And then it's connected by this abdominal bone, the gastralia, which you may find in a probably a crocodile. More importantly to me, these are also found in marine reptiles. So things like plesiosaurs and these sort of creatures that are swimming. And remember that these beings have pneumatic skulls, and some researchers have found evidence of salt. So they have a saline origin, which, of course, most people are going to immediately think of the ocean and likely the ocean. But my research has led me to believe that they probably made great use. And again, this is based on the salt. They probably made great use of the saline lakes around the world.
Okay, so these medical documents that you have regarding this, where did they come from and who wrote them?
Do you mean the files I suggested I'm going to show you tonight?
Yeah.
These are going to be the 3D medical scans of the body, including the fetus within. And so this is from the researchers at tridactyls.org. And they're the ones working closer with Mason. That's the other thing when we see people, skeptics, levying ad hominem attacks, they sort of scattershot these attacks without knowing what sort of people and what sort of careers they're sweeping with one hand. What do they know? And there's so many different experts and teams of researchers. You know, there was a European team that did the metallurgy. So there's different teams. There's myself. I'm working by myself, coming up with what I can based on what has been given to me. And I'm trying to just put my years of education and entertainment into good use. And really all I'm trying to do is be the facilitator and pass this information on to other people. Everyone needs to make their own decisions, and the best way to do that is to look at the files. So again, we're going to be looking at medical scans, not just a report.
Hey, I want to ask you, I know this might be jumping a little bit off topic, but still the same topic. A year and a half ago or so, Mexican journalist Jaime Maussan brought the mummies up to the Mexican parliament regarding the government, regarding, you know, the UFO disclosure movement that was happening there. He took a lot of heat for that. And the Peruvian government was very upset because those mummies technically are not allowed to leave the country. And yet here they were being presented and handled at this event. How do you think he was able to get them outside of the country without permission?
I mean, I have no idea on that sort of line of work. I would like to mention theory, though, and I think it's important. There's two things you learn from Theory Jamin when you read his book, and that is, one, he believes in the scientific process. and he wants to do his best to have everything measured and accounted for, etc. The other thing I get from him is that he is very concerned about the patrimony of Peru's natural resources there, or artifacts. They're not really natural, right? Well, I guess the mummies are, right? But yeah, he's very concerned about those things. Theory also is happy to say that the Vaqueros have been selling these things. So I am not sure. I would have to imagine he must have went around Theory and perhaps made his own connections. I don't know. These guys are selling these things. So I mean, someone has connections beyond just Theory in Peru. And, you know, we might look at this as robbery, but also, what if the Ministry of Culture got a hold of these things and never released them? What if they were in their hands now? So, I mean, there is that what if sort of situation where, did we dodge a bullet by getting these out to the public? I mean, all information should be available and free to the public. So maybe this is part of that. And the other thing is, of course, when you look at Maria's DNA and the universality of this imagery, Bella Coola, who owns the gods of creation? Who owns the ancestors? So as much as Peru would like to hold on to them, this may be some sort of a new paradigm. We have to come up with a new term. These are mobile artifacts, mobile World Heritage sites, and maybe they're just a planetary treasure. And my prediction is, and I've already said this to the local museums, is like, get your display corner ready, because either the museum's going to have one of the bodies on display temporarily, like when King Tut went around, or museums are going to be inclined to create their own, even the roadside attractions will start first, right? They're going to be inclined to create their own Tridactyl exhibit. So that gastralia, again, is found in reptiles. So we have the cutaneous respiration of amphibians, we have the furcula of birds, and now we have a gastralia of reptiles. So where do you put these in the geological record? Not to mention suspicion of metamorphosis.
I'm still trying to figure it out, man, because like normally, and I'll use a mathematical term here, 2 + 2 usually equals 4. But in this case, it seems to equal like 168.
How about this? Can you inverse your thinking? Can you somehow flip your brain to think in perhaps a non-logical way, and maybe you'll find some sort of a clue? So we have all these traits. What other traits do they have that's of interest? They have a fused forearm. That's like unlike anything. The bones are said to be pneumatic as well, so hollow like a bird. They have scutes or epidermal. I don't know what you'd call them. Scutes, I guess. Scutes. Well, it's an interesting thing. I've been fascinated by the skin. And, they have very unique fingerprints also, right? They're not the swirly fingerprints of a human. They're these sort of perpendicular, parallel. These sort of parallel ridges, perpendicular, that'd be interesting, right? These parallel ridges on the fingers. But more importantly to me, early on, I noticed the cross-hatching pattern. So that's just like when you do a hashtag on a post, right? I noticed this cross-hatching pattern in a lot of ceramics around the world that seemed to be giving a clue that this means reptile. I made a note of that. Okay, this means reptile. Put it to the side with the rest of the symbology, because we never finished that story. I looked at some ceramics in Florida, and don't you know, they have that cross-hatching. Some of them even looks like that maybe it was replications of the actual skin. So if you follow some of my theories, we started with the heart and we were talking about symbology, right? Symbolism. So there is a lot of symbolism that may be originating from a biological origin point.
I want to ask you, getting back to the hands and the dissection, or I guess you call it autopsy. I'm not sure what would be the proper term for that would be, and I apologize for my very unscientific way here, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, forensic study.
Getting back to the hands, there was metals taken out of the hands, everything from what was it here? Aluminum, tin, silver, copper. What do you think those were? Were those just maybe, like the Egyptians put gold all in the tombs of the mummies? Do you think?
Well, I've got some theories for you. One, Josephina has a very pronounced one of 2 discs and a bar connecting it. That could possibly be to aid in a broken furcula. She does have a fracture there. That could be it. Perhaps these beings are experiencing a difficult hybrid birth, and with their possible oviviparity, that is, that the larvae are hatching within. In fact, I personally, using theories, video, and CT scans, I personally identified at least 2 fetuses in the eggs, which I like to think that I may be one of the first people publicly to state, not only do I see 2 tridactyl fetuses, but 2 fetuses that I suggest may be the Naga or dragon people of universal mythology.
Okay, and so the symbolism of the 3 fingers, you don't believe then that there is fingers that have been cut off?
Absolutely not. Well, let me rephrase that. Warita, the little baby, she may have had her fingers cut off in emulation. Let's face it, we have Paracas skulls that are natural, and we have skulls that were bound. So humanity's entire culture is essentially a cargo cult. So of course we're going to find these elongated heads everywhere, and we're going to find, you speak of 3 fingers, we're going to find 3-fingered or like symbols throughout our symbolic language. Probably the most famous is the one that Theory used for his Tridactyls video. He used it for the letter Y, I believe. It's the Algiz rune. The Algiz rune is a very pronounced looking tridactyl-like hand. But of course, the cross-like symbol is found pretty universally, as well as the symbol of the child, which I gave the nickname for, which looks like a humanoid serpentine being. So it's all as though saying that the larvas were known by ancient man. And you can see that possibly in things known as pig dragons from the Han Dynasty in China, where there are these jade-looking larvae, fetuses, and the Magatama of Japan, which are even smaller-looking larvae, an earlier stage. And what's important, too, with those 2 artifacts is that jade. So I'm seeing a consistency with jade, greenstone, et cetera, being associated with depicting these beings.
Let's go to a question from Joe in our audience here.
Oh, cool.
And geologist. Does the skull have any sagittal sutures?
As far as I know, the little ones do not. And as far as I know, Maria also does. That's not a fair question for me to answer without me doing a little research on that myself. So again, I am not the biology guy. So let's find out.
Right, I'm excited.
So yeah, the sutures, of course, are going to be important to everybody. And let's just see if we can find out something. So yes, so Maria does have the cranial sutures, and Miles also detected the various sutures in the skull. And what else is here? Does Koratov also detect a suture line in the CT scans? So there you go. I have the AI to help me.
We got 40 seconds to break. T-Bone is asking, do we know what they ate?
So the little ones seem to only have some sort of a tiny tubular type thing. They don't really have a proper esophagus, and it alludes to a liquid diet, and you can use your imagination from there.
Right. Well, we're going to go to break here for a few minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. At the bottom of the hour, we have Ed Cassis for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio.
Oh, boy, we got to get to the cultural stuff. I may have to stop in the biology and get to what I know about.
Let's do it. We'll get to the culture of the Tridactyls.
Awesome.
Next on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. Ouch. So yesterday, flying home, Air Canada Jazz, we're in this tiny little RJ jet, and I always get the window seat when I fly. It's 2 seats on either side, and this giant of a man, probably like 6'5" and 260, and not a fat 260, not an overly muscular 260, but just a very well in shape dude, sits right beside me. I was jammed in my seat for 2 hours. And I'll tell you, after being all over the place, just kind of jammed up and squished together, my entire right side is killing me. It's killing me. My ankles are sore. My sciatica is acting up. My shoulder is sore. My elbow is sore. My wrist is sore. All from that flight, man. I am really uncomfortable right now. Like, even just sitting here is that's why you see me on camera. I'm shifting all the time because I cannot get comfortable. Cannot get comfortable at all. No, I don't have Taco Bell rage. I got my fix. I'll get my fix in Grand Island too. And then in Vegas. I'm good for a while. I was just at the chiropractor prior to the show, 2 hours before the show. What I need to do is I just need to lay down on my left side and let my right side just kind of relax. Fap, if I can borrow your private jet, that'd be great. We got about 2 minutes here, bud.
Okay.
2 minutes. You having fun, Ed?
I'm having blast. Thank you. It's good to talk about it because I'm trying to find a place to do a lecture around here so I can film it, especially after that philosophy teacher Brown is going around fucking shit up. I'm sorry, messing stuff up.
That's right. We're on commercial break, so now's the time to get all
I'm sorry. I spent most of my life as a bartender and a bouncer, so I'm a little rough around the edges too.
That's okay. That's okay. Oh man.
I just filmed a movie called Child Support 2, and it's an African-American comedy. So it was a rough crowd there, needless to say. I think they wound me up.
Comedy, I hope?
Yeah, Child Support 2. It's a comedy kind of like in the vein of Friday or something.
Oh, wow. River
I
Dog.
play the grumpy old grandfather. Remember, the only reason why you're
We got about a minute to go here.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you're having fun, sir.
Oh, I'm enjoying every moment of this. You're really making me think.
Good. That's what I'm here for. Make people
Yeah.
think and do their own research. And you don't have to believe me. You don't have to not believe Masan.
All right, we got about 45 seconds. Big thank you tonight to T-Bone, Candace, and Pam for the super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support of SOR. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. And by the way, we are collecting pictures. So if you're watching SOR or your cat is watching them, SOR, or your dog, take a photo. Send it to Tim at spacedoutradio.com. Tim at spacedoutradio.com. We want that picture for our fan zone on our website. So we'd like to see it. Good afternoon to you, Ozzy Ange. How's tomorrow looking? Am I alive tomorrow? Please let me know. I'd appreciate it. All right, we got about 12 seconds here before we're going. Submit your pick. Tim at spacedoutradio.com. And here we go, the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. Talking about the Nazca Mummies with Ed Casses. My name is Dave Scott. We'll bring you Ed here momentarily. But first, I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here's anthropologist Ed Cassis here. We're going to get into the cultural side of the Nazca Mummies.
Well, you know what? I say that, but there's still one more anomalous feature that we didn't discuss. Okay. And that is on the small xenomorphs, they have two curved spinal protrusions coming off of their backs. So what are those? You want to wager some guesses?
Two spines. What else has two spines out there?
I don't think a lot of things have two.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So let me tell you, we have a couple theories. I say we as in me mostly. They suggested that perhaps it's support for some exterior lungs. So like your salamanders, because really we call these things reptilians. Probably a better name would be salamander or frog people. Or let's move on from that. Is it something to help with buoyancy? Because we know they have the pneumatic bone structure. And sure enough, it looks like those spines may have some pneumatic chambers to them. Or how about this one? What if possibly they have something to do with thermoregulation? And that perhaps there was some sort of a sail-like structure assisting with the thermoregulation. And so I did some speculative art recently, and I made the art, one without the membrane connecting these spines to the back, and another with the membrane. If hypothetically those spines represent support for thermoregulation, we can now add that to our list of cutaneous respiration, furcula, gastralia, thermoregulation sails. So before we wrap up the biology, now what does that tell you about the being?
I'm even more lost than I was last half hour.
So ideally, you would want to fit it into some recent clay that was just on planet Earth, maybe near the dinosaurs, but we can't do that. We can't because of the amphibian structure. So we could suggest that maybe amphibianism came back most recent times, or the more logical thing, in my opinion, I say, there's probably some biologist who will say otherwise, to me is that those features together represent a basal tetrapod. So the earliest of early animals. Let's move on to the culture, because there's not much more to say than that. I came up with a speculative mega class. I call it Nagalomorpha. And that is to encompass all these traits that seem to be from our various known clades. Culturally, I was looking at Bella Coola, right? Remember Bella Coola and the Taino Indians and the petroglyphs? Well, those heart-shaped faces weren't by themselves. They appeared with spiral petroglyphs, snake petroglyphs, and mother goddess imagery. Mother goddess imagery. And what that means is stick figures with the heart-shaped faces, tridactyl limbs, and perhaps a child between their legs or coming out of their stomach, something of that nature. Well, from there, you could almost imagine an Indiana Jones animated film. So from Bella Coola and the Taino Indians, I spread out my research, which took me to the Heitiki of the Maori. Little greenstone seated beings with tridactyl limbs, cordiform-shaped faces. And what did the Maori call those little greenstone beings? Called them the ancestors. And this is where the ontological shock hits me and I become shook. Because now I ask myself, why are these people suggesting this is the ancestor? This is the mother goddess. And it doesn't end there. There are the eye idols of Syria, the Syrian eye idols, and the goddess, the eye goddess of Telbrak. And they're little E.T. looking figures. And that's what people say, oh, it looks like E.T. Well, why does that? Why does E.T. look like them is what you're supposed to be asking. And that's kind of what I was asking you before about inversing your thinking. We want to put all those traits to a recent clade, but perhaps the reason it's becoming up unknown, the DNA and alien, is because you don't have the geological record of these creatures. They're that far deep in time. But we're talking about the culture. So those Syrian eye idols were fertility goddesses. There is on Easter Island, some wonderful gentlemen, thank him for posting it, found the cave on Easter Island. And what does that cave have all within it? Little cordiform, heart-shaped faces with long necks. And I speak of the benign countenance too. Once you've been looking at these artifacts for so long, you'll see benign countenances of these beings, angelic, if you will.
See, that just throws a whole wrench into what I thought this was because no, but if you think aliens have the tech, let's just use the alien grays, for instance, because that's what they most look like.
That's right. That's what your people are going to know them by.
Right. But if you go back in time, people allege to have been seeing these creatures for a long time. It goes right back to Egyptian mythos. And even further, probably. I mean, we don't know. There isn't any record on it. We can only assume. But
there is evidence in caves of these beings based on the symbolism.
But in some of the drawings in caves, the creatures are about the size of a human. They draw them almost the same size and sometimes bigger than the human. Would that mean that those are a different breed of humanity that maybe coexisted?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I even consider that, I'm all over the place because I'm trying to jump ahead here. Let's just say that there's multiple specimens, again, of multiple sizes. So we have the little, what I call xenomorphs or insectoids, the J-types, or what I call also the yaksha dwarves, the little beings, the ant people, the grays. And then we have the hybrid humans. And then we have some large hands with, the tridactyl fingers already have an extra phalange. These large hands have a second extra phalange. So they can wrap around quite a bit. And there's rumors of larger skulls too. So yeah, I suggest these are probably variations of human DNA and primate DNA. Keep in mind Maria, whose DNA, of course, is uploaded to the National Institute of Health. Her DNA is available.org. So my point was, why are these cordiform shaped faces associated with the mother goddess, fertility, and ancestor worship? This is important. And so my beginning of my whole constant companion theory was the dawning that this face, this shape, this symbolism is equated to love. This is the impetus of our heart-shaped emoji that we use on an everyday basis. And while you may doubt this, let it be known that there's a dozen other symbols after this that we can discuss on maybe another time, as depending on what time we have. Because ultimately, my theory is in theotherianthropic graphemes. That is theotherianthropic God, beast, man letters or symbols. The symbols of humanity were inspired by these beings. And again, evidence of their presence are found in caves. In what way? Again, cordiform shaped faces, also known reniform, meaning bean shaped. It's the shape of their heads. This is a very unique shape. Sure, we can say, oh, it looks like a leaf. You know, there's something I call out there with the skeptics. I call it Occam's spork. You've heard of Occam's razor? There's Occam's spork, which is the simplest answer must be the answer because I just thought of it. Right? And, you know, they talk about like the three fingers. And they're like, well, they just drew three because it's easier. Well, I mean, with that mentality, why not just draw one or none? But this is the type of thing that people have said for years. And now we have the bodies. And I feel awful for all these abductee victims that we've gaslit over the years when now we have the bodies. So let's further go on one last step. The spirals and the serpentine symbology. This is important. The spirals could mean serpents themselves, could mean water serpents. My own enlightenment was that perhaps this was a sign of spawning. So if you've ever seen a pond with the activity underneath it, it sends out concentric circles. I know there's probably a bunch of different crazy theories about Milky Ways and everything else. I don't go there. We're gonna work with ground level biological stuff, which includes animals making concentric rings in water. Water serpent. This was the next stage of a grand research lunge when the belief in post-flood tutelary beings, many times reptilian, came to Earth and taught man, guess what? Language. So I'm not making this theory up. This is something that's been in the world cosmologies all over the place. You know, to quote Billy Carson, you know, same dudes. So the same dudes were bringing culture all over the world. And what's one of our evidence for this? What's one of the proofs? It's the cordiform shaped faces that modern archaeologists are going to say that's just a coincidence. Independent innovation. People all over the world just decided to draw a very unique shape, a heart. It's not a natural shape. You could say, the leaves, but damning that it's with these things. So would you like to hear more or ask a question? I don't know. I could keep.
I'm enthralled right now.
Okay, so let's continue with this, even just this shape. Syrian eye idols. They look like little gingerbread ETs. They're some of my favorite artifacts. There's one particular one because it just looks like ET. This is also related to the eye idol, right? And you've heard of the Watchers of the Bible? Probably the same dudes, like Billy Carson would say, right? You know what I'm talking about, Billy Carson, right? Same dudes. So the eye idols seem to have segued into a stylistic pattern that you can see in the An or the Anu god, the alpha god of the Sumerians. You can see the shape of the Syrian eye idols, but it's become stylized now. And what has replaced the eyes? Spirals. Spirals have replaced the eyes. Well, you'll never guess where our ionic columns also first appear. In Anatolia, Turkey, and Syria. Those ionic columns with our volute spirals were associated with temples devoted to Hera, the mother goddess, and Asclepius, the medicinal healer, the snake handler. These temples were said to be built on either groves or above waters and spring. So once again, it is my suggestion that since these pillars are associated with Hera, the mother goddess, and these beings are the mother goddess, the ancestor, etc., then yes, the ionic columns too, a common human piece of symbolism, originates from these beings.
Is there a religious tie to these in any form?
Yes. Oh, yes. I believe they're the impetus of all religion, of all cosmological beliefs. So the serpent imagery brought me to the next phase, which was the Naga people of India. We have to save time, I realize. We're going to have to open those files in a second here if you want to see the medical files. So the serpent research brought me to the Naga of India because these beings are serpentine in scope. In fact, even today, the Naga festival is still celebrated every summer. And what we get confused with symbolism and worship, we talk about people worshiping animals and symbolism. All animal symbolism is because of some pareidolia reference to these beings. Either they looked like them or their behavior was like them. Ants, owls, cats, serpents. Whatever the time and place and culture may have encountered them, may have associated them with whatever the local fauna was where they were. I say local fauna, but I believe flora was also used to conceal the beings, knowledge of the beings. So we were getting into the symbolism, and you know, the Naga, the Indian people really took great care of keeping a history, as did the Chinese people when it came to talk of dragons. The Chinese creator beings is a serpent woman named Nuwa. So if we just take just China as an example, we see the serpent mother running universally through the cultures. What I noticed is that the word Naga left behind an echo in humanity's languages, and it is the NG phoneme or the ng phoneme. Now, once I say it, you might start to look for it. What I'm suggesting is people talk about where is the evidence of a global empire? One of the evidences in this phoneme. That indicates that, yes, there likely was some proto-human language, a Tower of Babel, if you will. So where are these Nagas coming from? Where is their homeland? Well, it seems to be in Tibet, where the Chinese claim the Queen of the West lives with her multiple types of body, tiger-like things and claws. And the Tibetans have their Rakasha mother, their ogress mother there. And the myth, are you familiar with the myth in Tibet about the ogre mother?
I have not heard that one.
This is their creation myth, that an ogress mates with a monkey god. I mean, it's right there. It's right there. It's that whole thing that we've all suspected and we've all suggested as some sort of conspiracy that the aliens and chimpanzees and the Tibetans have that. So what I suggest is these Naga originate from Tibet. You can follow this NG phoneme right into Proto-Indo-European. That brings us to our languages, where we have the word enguis or enguis, which relates to angles, which relates to eels, and which relates to angels.
So strange.
So I've traced the NG phoneme, and I've also traced the phoneme. I said I would bring you, so I can tell you who the Greys are. I believe the Greys are the Naga or the dragon people of Chinese mythology. And I can tell you who their leaders were. Their leader was Ka, and I suspected Ka was a god because I noticed that their primary letter was Ka, and it was a serpentine-looking being. I noticed that Ka was a phoneme that had a lot of strength, that dealt with darkness and time. And so this is one of those examples where I have a hypothesis, and then the hypothesis becomes theory when I looked into the Nilamata Purana, which is a sort of Northwest Hindu scripture, and they say Brahma is the Prajapati, which means Brahma is the creator. Kubera is the Prajapati. Kubera is the creator. And the last one was Ka is the creator. And I was like, jackpot, I gotcha. I gotcha. And you've heard of the Anunnaki?
Yes.
Well, there's clearly some phonemes in there, and people have already alluded to that. It's referring to names. So we have Ki and we have Naki. You have Enki. Everyone loves that story from the Sumerian things. This is all part of that phoneme, the Naga phoneme. It demonstrates a global culture. Look for that. And take a look at your alphabet letters, because the letters, for example, the letter, the grapheme in Chinese is for God, for sky. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tian is it's a little alien dude. It's a little dwarf. And when you see symbols like that, so little dwarf equals sky god, what am I supposed to think, Dave?
You got aliens.
We got aliens. Right. And of course, I don't even think they're aliens. I think they're terrestrials. I think they're the Naga. And they're also likely the dragon. I think what we're going to find out is that we're going to find out that Tibet and China is actually a sort of mother culture for planet Earth. You know, one of the first stops for modern Homo sapiens, first stop for some reason was a beeline for Tibet. Why? Well, of course, we have to cross-reference our mythology now, because the mother serpent goddess mates with her son, who she may have just gave birth to through parthenogenesis. And then she proceeds to mate with each following generation. Well, that sounds like some backbreeding to me, doesn't it? And that sounds like a great way to get your modern human with just the right amount of monkey and just the right amount of proto-amphibian.
My friend, we're down to 2 minutes here.
Oh, and we're literally going to have to close at 2 minutes, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Oh, we're not. I don't know if we're gonna. I don't know if I'm going to be able to open the file in time.
That's okay. This gives us a reason to bring you back.
No way. We have to open it. We have to. Oh my God! I have to open a file for you guys. You have to at least see one of them. I had it open, but then there was a time limit on it. Oh no.
Oh no.
Hold on.
We're down to 90 seconds.
Oh, geez. Well, do you want me to show you after it show's over?
We could do that later on. Sure.
Oh, okay.
All right. Do me a favor, Ed. We got a minute here. Tell everybody where they can find you, your research.
Sure. At Tridactyls. So @ TRIDACTYLS at Tridactyls. And that's YouTube, Facebook, X, and Reddit and TikTok. And also I'm at tridactyls.com. I also have a cool merch store where you can find little cute inties and other cool symbols there.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, I think it's opening.
Is it?
It's on. I'm sharing. Here we go. How fun is this?
30 seconds. Can we do it? Can we make it happen? What are we looking at? 20-second answer. We are looking at some sort of orb-like structures. There's the body. There we go. For our radio audience, we're looking at like a 3D scan of one of these mummies here. And on that note, we got to say goodnight to Ed. We have to say, coming up next in hour number 3, we have Robin Haynes. We have Swamp Dweller. It's going to be a busy hour 3 next on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
One second, Ed. All right, there we go. We're clear.
We got a couple seconds of it up, right?
What are you showing us?
This is Montserrat. She has a implant, and she also has a child with her, I believe named Raphael.
Very creepy.
Let's see. Certain files move better than others. You can also zoom in. Let's see if I can open the child's folder. Problem is I can never find these things. So anyway, you have another guest coming up, right?
I do.
That's cool. Who were the other people on that talked about the mummies?
Oh, goodness. Who have we? Darcy Weir has talked about it. He's a movie producer.
Oh.
He did one other show.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes. Was he on Howie Mandel?
I don't know. Could have been. All right, Ed, I got to run and let you go. Very good. Thank you, buddy.
At least we got a couple seconds of the footage up, right?
Yeah. We'll do it again. I love having you on.
Awesome. Peace out.
Take care.
Out of here. Bye.
Ed Casses, everybody. How awesome was he? Loved him. I'll be right back, everyone. right. There's little Robin Haynes hanging on out. Queen Peachy Keen, how are you? Jerry Carter, nice to see you. That was a good show. I liked that guy. I did. He was good. If you have questions for Robin coming up, put them in capital letters so I could get them to her. Excuse me. All right. Thank you tonight to T-Bone, Candace, and Pam for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. Thank you very much. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out if you haven't. And if you have pictures, send them to tim@spacedoutradio.com. We want to throw them on our website. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Appreciate you having us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. ZEC. ZEC is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. This is in the middle of nowhere, eastern Montana. This happened about 6 p.m. We were playing hide and seek with all my best friends and their siblings. We hear this loud screaming coming from the woods. So as smart people would do, we start hiking to find out what was making the noise. On our way up, we noticed that there were these two deer that were standing completely still, staring at us. They were scarily still. We even make a bunch of noise to try to get their attention and try to scare them away, but they don't budge. They keep looking directly up the mountain. We do not really think much of it. We keep going, and whatever it is still screaming absolutely bloody murder. My friend's older sister is calling back. Then, suddenly, it just stops. We keep going for a bit, and we eventually find mountain lion tracks. We all sit down, and we all have this feeling that something is watching us. So we close our eyes, and I told everyone to point to where the feeling is coming from. We all point to the same exact spot, above us. My friend and I stay at that spot while her two other siblings go up a little further. They come back down to us and they say they saw the mountain lion. We decided it would probably be a smart idea to go back to the property. We begin to hike down, and the deer are still there. We figure it's because they knew the mountain lion was there. The next day we come back to where we were after being out for the entire day. My friend, her older sister, and I are all very tired. It was about 10 p.m.-ish. The older sister goes outside to pee outside of the trailer. This was in June, so it was still bright. She sprints back inside the trailer and tells my friend and me that there is something out there that ran toward her. We believe that she was making jokes. At around 11 p.m., my friend goes to sleep. I stayed up because I was not very tired. Sometime around 1 a.m., she wakes up to go to the bathroom. She goes outside the trailer and dead sprints back inside and tells me there is 100% something out there, and that whatever it was was fast and big and ran toward her. The older sister wakes up my friend, telling me all of this information, and comes to the back of the trailer where we are. There are 4 motion sensor lights on the corner of our trailer, pointed at us, and this is important. We all were scared crapless in the trailer, and I'm lying on my side looking at the window. My friend is there looking out the opposite window. The curtains are closed, but I notice a lighting change. I tell the others what I saw because I don't believe they were paying fully attention. And about 10 seconds later, my friend says the light on my side went off. So now we know something is 100% out there, walking around our trailer, and we are terrified. My friend is wild and decides to go back to sleep for whatever reason. So, her older sister and I work up enough courage to move out to the front of the trailer. It is now probably 2 a.m. if I had to guess. We notice that the lights out front are also getting triggered. We are clueless about what we are supposed to do, so we lock the doors. We didn't find out till the morning that the locks don't work. We grab the biggest knives we can. We sit on the bed that is in the main room. There is a window not even an inch above the bed, so keep this in mind. Whatever was out there kept circling around until it stopped by the window and started tapping on the trailer and hitting it hard enough to shake the trailer. The older sister and I are almost in tears from fear at this point. It is easily around 3 a.m. at this point, and we hear my friend's grandfather coughing outside. The older sister is overly concerned for him, but I force her to stay inside because whatever is out there is not friendly. The coughing stops eventually. Next, we hear a very faint screaming from the woods, as whatever it is outside our trailer was still tapping and rubbing against it. So we knew it was not the mountain lion. Or is it? We eventually fall asleep at around 4:30 a.m., and a couple of hours later we investigate around the trailer and find deep imprints around our trailer that are way too big to be any animal that is out there. The same friend goes there quite often, and the last time they did, I did not tag along for obvious reasons. But something jumped on top of the trailer and was pacing back and forth and would run back and forth every so often. Also, sometimes stopping right over where they were laying.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, do us a favor. Go to Swamp Dweller on YouTube and hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories just like that waiting for your listening ears. It's time for Robin. We're just 3 weeks away from getting to see Robin Haynes down at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference.
Right.
And Robin, it's so great to have you here. I'm so excited to see you.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait to see you. I've been working hard all day on airline tickets, so that will be sent over to you very shortly. So we're getting everything organized. Everybody's coming. All of our vendors are getting all geared up, so we're excited.
I'm very excited too. I'm very excited. You know, we got so much to talk about leading up to this event and what we're going to talk about tonight. But for people who may be interested in going, where can they find tickets?
If you go online to Nebraska Bigfoot Conference 2025, you're going to see a list that has all of our speakers on there. And just keep scrolling down. You'll get to the point where you can go on and order the tickets. It's cheaper if you order them now than at the door. So we do give a little bit of a discount for that. So that's helpful too. And you can do like a package deal for Friday, Saturday. And we have a movie by David Ford on Friday night. And then we're doing a round table this year. Christian McLeod had suggested it. It's a great idea. We're going to try it for the first time this year. So at the end of the conference on Saturday, we're going to do a round table with everybody. And we always encourage audience to ask questions after each speaker. Well, now we're going to get at the end of the conference, we're going to put everybody up there and just, it'll be all questions can be asked. So, and if anybody wants to book a room at the hotel where the guests are going to be, we're going to be at the Ramada Inn in Grand Island. So we're looking forward to it. We're going to be at Fauner Park, the Aurora building. So there's going to be lots of things to see, lots of things to do. We'll have a couple of food trucks, plus you can buy food there as well. But we get some really amazing vendors that we're just thrilled to have every year. And we've got some great speakers coming up. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I look forward to it. And, you know, this weekend I'm going to be putting my presentation together in order to get it ready and make sure that I have it all looking good. So I'm pretty pumped up about it. That's for sure. And, you know, it's a good time. And you got a great list of speakers, you know, even though some have it in there.
Yeah, we do. I'm really pleased with it. We have L.A. Marzulli will be there. We have Daryl Dutton, Christy Sci-Fi and her dad, Wayne. Excuse me. We have Daniel Becker from the Crypted Wilderness Research Group. And I'm going to forget some of the list, you guys, so don't shoot the messenger. So we've got those. We have MK Davis and Don Monroe that are going to do questions and things like that. And they have a short little video they're going to play. And of course, we have yourself, which we're thrilled about. We will have Blaine Tyler and his beautiful wife, Lisa. We have Tim Kunbo Baker. We have Christian McLeod. And I know I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, Rob Kreider is going to be there. So and I'm sorry for anybody that I've forgotten to name because I don't have the list in front of me. The schedule is online as well. So if anybody wants to go on there and kind of take a look and see everything, they're welcome to do that. I think everybody just has a wonderful time. It gets a really good family vibe. It's great for the kids. We do, you know, talk about both the good cryptids and the bad cryptids, but we try to keep it at a minimum so we don't scare anybody. We are going to limit any talk on Nephilim. And this is why we encourage everybody to form their own opinions. We want them to form their own opinions, whether you believe they're part Nephilim or not. I don't, only because Sasquatch have told me that they are not. However, the Sasquatch get very agitated when you talk about them in that manner. And we have a mixed crowd of speakers as far as what their belief system is. We get a mixed crowd of the audience in their belief system. We are not there to change anybody's mind. We're there to encourage people to think outside the box, create their own thoughts and feelings on what these things are. And we just don't want anybody offended. So, you know, each of the speakers will, if they want to bring it up, we'll talk about what their thoughts are on it. But we're going to kind of like cut it off, not because we don't want people to believe what they wish to believe, but we don't want the conflict with everybody. We don't want anybody forced to believe one way or the other.
I like it. I like it. So I was at UFO Con this past weekend in San Francisco, emceeing, and something weird happened there, Robin.
I can only imagine.
So it was Saturday evening. Most of the people were in watching one of the final speakers of the night. And I was coming back from the restaurant, and all of a sudden I saw a bunch of people kind of like real confused and having this conversation about this weird woman who walked in. She didn't come through the main entrance. She came through a side door. And this is where it gets weird. She was wearing a black hoodie with black pants. And she was around the vendors' tables, which for the most part had been packed up for the night. And she was just kind of looking around and seemed really odd and confused. And a couple of the ladies that were there kind of went up to her and said, "Hey, how you doing? Are you here for the conference, or what are you up to? Or is there something we can help you with?" And she just kind of mumbled something. They didn't really make out what she said. And they were kind of like, "Well, are you okay? Are you here? You know, like what kind of brings you in this area?" And one of them, you know, not forcefully, but just kind of touched her and kind of gently grabbed her forearm. This lady, looking Asian, ripped her forearm away from the lady and then started to speed walk past the door that she came in, down the hallway where she passes Science Bob and fellow former CIA member John Ramirez. And then about 3 feet after that, there's a turn down a long hallway. And she's speed walking this. And these ladies follow her because they want to know, like, is she trying to rip somebody off? Or where is she going?
Right.
So alert the hotel, whatever it may be. So they're about 10, 15 feet behind her. She turns down to go down this hallway, which has, I think, 2 doors, but they're like staff doors, so they're locked. And this hallway is about, I'm going to say 80, 90 feet long. And remember, these ladies were only about 10, 15 feet behind her. When she rounded the corner, the other people caught up. They rounded the corner as well, and she was gone.
Well, that's wild.
She vanished. So was she able to maybe get into one of those doors? We don't know. Was she able to, did she just disappear? Did she all of a sudden have hypersonic speed going down that hallway towards the elevators? We don't know. When you're 10, 15 feet behind somebody, if she went in one of the doors, the other people were fast enough where they would have seen the door closing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But she was just gone, vanished into thin air.
My first thought is that she was a hybrid. You know, and we have talked about this on other shows. If you are, like, let's say when it comes to Sasquatch, you are thinking about them all the time. All the cryptids, ETs, all those things are linked through the collective consciousness. They're all telepathic. So when you have them on your mind all the time, it is much easier for them to find you, seek you out. So now you're there and you're doing the UFO Expo. That automatically has everybody's brains on the ETs. We already know because of events that will be coming up shortly that we have an absorbent amount of ETs here right now, more than we've ever had on this planet. And we have so many that live on here anyway. But there's a lot of hybrids. And because of what you're saying to me, the first thing that comes to my mind from my experiences is that was probably a hybrid. And as a hybrid, she could completely cloak. She could do any of those things and disappear at an alarming rate. You know, just everybody through the consciousness of thinking about the event could have alerted them and brought one in.
The funny part about that is the ladies also said that she had hybrid energy to her as well.
Yep.
So the fact that you were saying that just on picking up the energy of it.
Uh-huh. That's what I got the second you started talking about it, was a hybrid. And again, you know, these things are all linked through the collective. So if you're talking about them, if you're thinking about them, if you have an event about them, it is not uncommon that some of them show up. The fact that it didn't want to be touched, didn't want to make eye contact, the behavior, the mannerisms, all of it, and just psychically linking to it, that's the kind of energy it was.
I always miss the good stuff. I'm always behind the good stuff. I wish I would have been there for that because I think it would have been very interesting. Now we're talking, I believe there were 7 people who saw this encounter, including Science Bob and John Ramirez, both ex-CIA.
Years ago, I got attacked by a hybrid in the Allegheny Mountains. And I'm going to tell you what, the thing to anybody else would have looked human, just completely human, like maybe a later teenage man or boy, okay? They would not have known it. I'm a little bit different. I can look at something, see what everybody else sees on the outside, but I can also almost like internally. So if it is a hybrid, I'm going to look at that person and I'm going to see what kind of hybrid it is. It's going to pop for me. And this thing came after me and it looked 100% human. If you didn't know what to look for as far as in the face and the eyes, read the energy, nobody would have ever known. And we have so many of these hybrids walking around among us. It's unbelievable. It really is incredible. Doesn't mean they're all bad. A lot of them are good. The one I had experience with, I ended up getting my legs clawed, my body clawed, and everything, and that it was not a good one. But there are a lot of good ones out there, and there was witnesses to this when it happened to me, by the way. But there is so many more than people realize. They've lived among us for decades, literally hundreds and thousands of years, and nobody has ever known because they look so unbelievably human. And because through the course of time, our government has dumbed us down to keep things in that nice little square box that none of us want to be in. And so when it comes to those kinds of things, our brain shuts it down before accepting that we're seeing what we're seeing. And they're there. So when you're at one of these UFO events, everybody's thoughts and minds are on that. You're talking about that topic, and they're all telepathic. It draws them in like flies. Like, do I think that's what it was? Yeah, because energetically, that's what it feels like, as well as sounds like.
That's incredible. It's just, it's weird when these situations happen. Have you heard of other things like that happening at conferences?
Absolutely. I was supposed to do one, and my granddaughter was being born at the same time, so I couldn't make it. I did it via phone, a UFO event a few years ago. And just from them having that event, there was UFOs above when they all went outside. Called them in a heartbeat. I did a conference in Georgia, and I was interviewed by Mike Harrell. Love Mike Harrell. He's got great information on cryptids as well as the ETs. And I was being interviewed outside by him. And just from talking about them, I looked over it was like a side of a cliff that was not, very close, like across the road from the conference hall. And they were standing up on the cliff. You could see them. They were mind speaking. You could see where they were at. And so when you have these things, it draws them in. Like, we don't realize the higher frequency that they are. So once that frequency is high enough, their abilities are there. And they can pick us up. There's no such thing as time and space for them. They can pick us up from anywhere, and it generally brings them. I've yet to go to the conference in Nebraska and not get activity behind the hotel. It happens every single time. Myself and Christy Sci-Fi, Blaine Tyler, we all noticed it, and his wife Lisa all noticed it. It's very, very common. It's like you're sending them an open invitation that they're there. That's why I tell people, when you guys are watching these horrifying movies, like horror movies and scary movies and everything, everybody thinks it's fun to watch them. What happens is when you're doing it, all that kind of bad stuff shows up for it. So you take a chance each and every time. Doesn't mean every time you're going to have a bad experience, but it is a possibility when you do it. It's like when I go to bed at night, because everything mind speaks all night long and keeps me awake, I turn on sitcoms. I don't care if it's a cartoon of SpongeBob. I need something light, happy, and funny going on all night long, because if not, I get good and bad that wants to talk to me all night. And it's the same thing with conferences. People don't realize the intent, your consciousness, all of those things come into play. And it's just like putting up a neon sign that says, we're here, this is what we're doing. They show up all the time. A lot of times people don't realize it, but they do. They always show up.
They're always there.
Always.
They're always there. Our Keith Andrews, a number of years ago, probably going back 10 years ago now, he was actually at a UFO conference on the East Coast where they had 3 hybrids come in. And he got a photo with one of them, and you could see the gentleman's skin is bluish gray.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was absolutely weird and unbelievable that they caught it. And apparently the aliens seem to visit UFO conferences.
They do.
They're attracted to energy. Robin, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. When we return from Robin Hayes, we're going to ask her about the return of the dire wolf and more Sasquatch questions.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. One sec, Robin. There we go. Yeah, that was. I missed it by just a couple of seconds.
It's amazing. You know, people really, really don't understand that when you think about these things, even if you are not aware that they've shown up, it calls them in. You know,
Yep.
I got asked a question about a Ouija board a few weeks ago. And they said, you know, something about having a Ouija board. Number one, I don't use them. I don't like them. I don't want them in my home. But the reality of it is, Hasbro made that Ouija board, you know, into games and put it in the children's aisle for toys. It's not the board that's the problem. It's you have your intent and your focus on it. And when you do, it hits through the consciousness. So it's not the board, it's what you do with the board. You could get a piece of paper and draw a circle on it and do the same thing. So when you get that many people at a conference, all thinking about the same thing, with all these beings that are telepathic and work through the collective consciousness, and they're all high frequency being. They got a lot more power than we do. And then you get people that are at these conferences, they're already at a higher frequency because they're open-minded enough to even think about the fact that these things can exist. And it is really like a calling card. You know, it's like giving them their own personal invite. It's like, if I watch anything on TV, and I seldom watch any of the shows on these things. I really don't, because normally I'm too busy to do it. But also, I've had enough experience and I know enough people with experiences that I kind of go more to the sources of them. But when I do watch them, I'm guaranteed activity constantly. If I watch a show that people have done a documentary on Sasquatch, they're pounding on my windows all night long and they'll be sitting there telling me if it's right or wrong. You know, they've got to have an opinion. They're like us. Everybody's got an opinion and they're going to tell you. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's some weird shit out there.
Oh, yeah.
You mean?
And it's fixing to get weirder. So everybody better buckle it up and hang on for the ride because it's fixing to break loose.
Mm-hmm. So where do you have me flying out of?
Well, you sent me your information over today, and I started working on flights. I haven't got it booked yet, so I can't. I think you said, I can't remember where you told me you wanted to fly out of, but I've got it all written down. I'm just going through. Yeah, I'm going through the list and doing everybody one at a time. So I haven't got to yours yet, but yours will be done probably within the next, I want to say 24, 48 hours. Hopefully be done tomorrow with it. So yeah, wherever you told me to put you out of is where you're going out of. I'm going to try to get you to go through Las Vegas if that's an option. If not, it'll have to be, unfortunately, Dallas.
That's
Nobody
fine.
like going. Yeah, it sucks. It's not as bad. They finished last time I was through there, which was last year. They had finished the remodeling. What it is this year, God only knows. You want to know where all the aliens are at? Go to the Dallas airport. I swear that's where they're all migrated to because they're a bunch of lunatics there. But we are hoping for a normal flight this time so that you can be with us for the entire conference instead of at the very end. It's like you've been through enough. It's just time for a simple flight. They're going to have the shuttles to get everybody over to the hotel. And then we've got shuttles to get you guys to the conference hall. The whole thing. This hotel is supposed to be nice. Now, I checked it out online. I'm not in Nebraska. Harriet McFeely, who owns the conference, went over there and looked at it. It's supposed to have pool, hot tub, little tiny indoor putt-putt course. It's supposed to have a restaurant in there and a bar in there. So everybody should be really comfortable. And any viewers that want to go to it, it's the Ramada Inn in Grand Island. And if you let them know you're there for the Bigfoot conference, you will get a discounted room. So that will be helpful. So they've been really good about accommodating us. Their rooms are normally like $160 a piece plus tax, and we've got them to drop it down to $139 plus tax. So just let them know it's for the conference, and you'll get it discounted. And it's good because all of our speakers are there, so anybody that wants to speak to them can. And that's the other thing that's really great about our speakers during the conference is everybody makes themselves available so the guests can speak and talk to them at any time. I am not speaking this year. I've done it the last 4 or 5 years, and enough is enough. I needed more. I want new people in there. I don't need to be talking all the time. And so, but I will be there so people can talk to me. But yeah, I mean, we try to get everybody in only, 2 years in a row. And I've been speaking every year because we get enough people that ask me to.
Hold on, Rob. We're going to come back here momentarily here. Here we go in like 6 seconds. Here we go. Final half hour, spaced out radio tonight. Robin Hayes. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate it. Wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone tuning us in and remind all of you that if you want to listen to this show in the archives, they're always free on YouTube or any major podcast network like Spotify, iTunes, you name it. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Robin Haynes is here. The Cryptid Q&A is what we call it. We used to call it the Cryptid Report. I like the Q&A better. It's
Yeah,
more,
I think so.
yeah, feels better. Rolls off the tongue nicer.
Yeah.
Robin is, and Robin, I'm sure you've been following this. After 15,000 years of extinction, they were finally able to recreate through DNA a new breed of dire wolves. What do you think about this?
I think on one hand, it's amazing. I don't like the fact that we try to play God a lot, but it is amazing to be able to have them back with us. And then I tend to wonder genetically, are they exactly like they were before? Or they claim that, and from what I read, they are pure. They are not, crossed with anything, which is amazing. So I think we sit back and see what happens. We see if they stay healthy with the methods that they use, because that's always a big concern. I think a lot of genetic testing has to be continued with it. And I think it's really great, but at the same time, it can be a little frightening and daunting because there are things that shouldn't be brought back, And I don't like the idea that we try to play God. That's how we got all these hybrids to begin with. And so that's a little concerning, but I think it's very interesting and definitely an exciting thing. Those babies were absolutely beautiful. They were stunning. I mean, it was just incredible. So on some of the species, as far as like with the animals and stuff, it could be really cool, depending on what they bring back. The problem is our people and our government don't just leave it. They got to push that envelope. And that is a huge, huge concern. And they never do it for the greater good of people. There's always a backstory or a back end on there. So it does make me a little nervous.
I think, and this is just me, I think there should be a law about what they can bring back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, for instance, I wouldn't want to see, not because of the fear factor, but I wouldn't want to see dinosaurs brought back. I wouldn't want to see megalodon brought back. Even the woolly mammoth. What I would want to see happen is I would love to see animals come back that we as a human species made extinct.
Yeah.
That's what I would like. Whether it's like the thylacine, better known as the Tasmanian tiger.
And they're not dead. They're still out there.
Well, but they haven't been. I agree with you on that. There's enough video evidence, but there isn't enough out there to say that it's not extinct. Like they've got some weird videos that look like it, but I would say animals that we have taken out. There's certain breeds of tigers that have been wiped out. The black rhinoceros.
Oh, that broke my heart. Broke my heart on the rhino.
I mean, there's a lot of species there that we ruined. Nature didn't ruin it. If
Yep.
nature took it out, I'm quite okay with that.
Yeah,
But
I am
but
too.
for species that we have personally taken out of greed or because of ivory or body parts or whatever, like you look right now, like the pangolin is on and is on an alert right now because uh, Asian countries keep using it, believing that it has medical practices when there is no medical practice or health
Yeah,
for
and
it.
they're amazing. They're amazing. Well, and the thing is when they go out and determine that it's extinct, okay? A lot of them, not all, a lot of them, that's it, they're done. A lot of them aren't, and that puts us in a very precarious situation because we are not prepared when they show up. Like Megalodon. Megalodon, there have been sightings of Megalodon. They're few and far between, but our oceans have such a huge depth to it. We don't know what's still down there. And the sightings are coming from somewhere. Okay. It's like the woolly mammoth. The woolly mammoth, they see every year up in Russia. I was told about it from Igor Borsta. I had seen something on TV about it, and I asked him, and he said, yeah, he said, they talk about it all the time. When the ice freezes over, there's this one mountain range, and they see them over there, and they cross the ice. And they look exactly like a woolly mammoth. Has anybody ever captured one? No. So there's no DNA testing done, but all these things are possible. The dinosaurs, if you look at the brontosaurus, you look down in the tropical rainforest, you've got tribes of people that have no idea what goes on in our world because they are so isolated. They don't have books. They don't have anything. And they've made drawings of these things. They found footprints of the brontosaurus. And they have literally drawn pictures of this thing down by the riverbeds. Velociraptors are not, my intel is, and I have not seen them, so this is just what I'm told. The velociraptors are still alive and kicking. They're just in inner Earth. Now, do I think that there's just not enough of any of these things where that's why we think they're extinct? I do. But I agree with you 1,000,000%. If nature took it out, there's a reason for it. We don't play God. If we took it out, that's different. They should be brought back because nature was never intended for them to leave to begin with. It's just one more thing that we screwed up. So I can understand that completely.
Here's a list of some of the animals that humans have taken out. This is a small list. The dodo bird.
Yep.
Extinct by predation by introduced pigs and cats. Stellar sea cow.
Mm-hmm.
Extinct from hunting for fur and oil. The thylacine. Extinct from hunting, habitat loss, and competition with dogs. Woolly mammoth. The last great woolly mammoth populations vanished near the end of the last ice age 4,000 years ago. The Eurasian aurochs, which is like a giant bull.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That went extinct from hunting. Quagga, extinct due to hunting and habitat loss. Passenger pigeons, hunted to extinction. Great auk, extinct from hunting and habitat loss. Bush moa, I don't know what that is, but maybe somebody can hit me up on that one. Extinct from hunting. The Arabian ostrich, extinct from hunting. I mean, that's just a small list of animals and mammals and birds and everything. I mean, that's just a tiny list.
Yeah,
But
and we did the damage. It's on us. It's just ridiculous. We kill everything. Like, it's terrible.
Well, I mean, that's something that we got to get over. So I hope if they do the right thing and create animals that we caused extinction to, I think that's okay. But if we're getting into it's like with Neuralink, with Elon Musk and Neuralink, where I'm all for it if it helps people with Alzheimer's or dementia, or helps people with spinal cord injuries walk again, or children born with spina bifida being able to, get their body healthy or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going to be using it to weaponize to create super soldiers, I'm not into that.
No, I'm not either. And it's so unfortunate because it's like the cryptids. They years and years ago, and they'd been doing this before that. It was just that was when I heard about it. I had somebody that I got intel from that worked closely with the government, and he had called me one night. Actually, it was the same night I got abducted. He had an ET abduction. I was on the phone with him when I got taken, and he was telling me about the thousands and thousands of acres the government bought in the western states to make underground bunkers to house the cryptids in, because they were catching them right and left, and they were using them for government programs to create cryptids for the military. It's disgusting. The Sasquatch will talk about the ones that have been captured and what they did with them and what they tried to mix with their DNA to create these things for warfare. And then when they can't control them, because to be clear, the government can't control everything. And these things have, paranormal abilities that we have no idea how to control. And because everything with the paranormal ability is done through a higher frequency and consciousness, even for us people with the higher frequency, we can't catch up to the frequency that they have. And so the abilities they have is astronomical. And the government can't contain it either. They can't control it. So what do they do with it? They cut it loose. Allegheny River is a great dumping ground. In Ohio, by the Ohio River Valley, great dumping ground. Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, all these places are dumping grounds. And then the things that they couldn't control, that they created, are out amongst us. And we have no idea how to deal with them. And they're not just out there, they're actively breeding. So, you hear about all these 411 cases, and I'm not saying all of them are done by these things. Being out in the woods with a Sasquatch or a dogman is the least of your worries. The least of your worries. It's the other things you have to be worried about. Not all ETs are bad. We have several races of ETs. I personally believe that there's more good ETs than bad ETs. But the bad ones help take people as well. We've got open portals that are out in the woods. It's been known for people to walk into a portal and not even know they're doing it. So you've got all these things, but what we create or try to replicate can be just as bad. It's dangerous. If it's stuff that we took out, I'm on the same page with you 100%. That's a little bit different. It's the intent for some of the ones that they create that makes me a little concerned.
Let's get into some cryptid talk here, because we do have some questions from our audience here. Let's go over to Mike here. Has Bigfoot ever tried to get intimate? No, we're not even asking.
No. And for the record, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
Yeah, people, let's keep it straight here, okay? All right. Joe is asking, any problems with the government coming up to take away your Sasquatch?
Yes, they never have. We had probably about a 6-year time span, I had nothing less than 5 helicopters over my house at any given time. They certainly looked for them. They certainly tried to find them. They certainly watched me to see if they were around me. I have had lots of issues with different government things, yes.
Moving on, let's go to Derek. Robin, has a Sasquatch imprints on you or had an effect towards you?
Had an affection towards me. Just so everybody knows, number one of their laws are they are not allowed to fall in love with our people just because they are genetically on part of the mother's side human. I have never had any experience where any of them have tried anything like that. Do I know of cases where they have not done anything, but, gotten crushes on people? It has happened. It is in all kinds of different, people that will talk about it. I have never had that experience. Have I had them I don't know if you even want to call it imprint. Do I have some that are extremely fond of me, that are protective of me, that will, continually follow me around, that I'm very close with? Yes, absolutely. But not in a sexual nature, romantic nature, or that kind of an affection nature. Never.
Perfect. Let's move on. Let's go to another question here. What do the forest people find interesting or confusing about us humans? Is there something they ask you to explain to them?
Yeah. The second question is there something that they've ever asked you to explain? The reason I'm doing shows now where I didn't do them before, 7 years ago, they came to me and said, people need to know the truth about us. We had tried it back when I did the conference in Siberia, and I got back to put out information that was accurate on them. The people weren't ready. And that's when I got death threats and got hunted like a dog. So I stopped. I came back out, started doing the shows again because they were giving me information that they wanted the people to know. A lot of times what people don't realize is when I speak places, when I do these shows, they are talking in my head and giving information for me to put out for people. Okay. What do they find interesting about us or confusing? They think we're ridiculous. They call us hairless humans and they laugh a lot. We get laughed at a lot, guys. Okay. They don't understand our ways. Our culture is different than theirs. And they don't understand our mindset because we do try to kill what we don't understand. We are very limiting in our thinking. A lot of us now, certainly your audience, because otherwise they wouldn't be here, are more open-minded, higher frequency based. That they are a little bit calmer about, but they don't understand why we do the things we do. Their ways are not ours. So they do find us interesting. They do like to pull jokes and pranks on us, and they think that's hysterical to see our reaction.
All right. We got about 4.5 minutes to go here. Let's get to another question here. Let's go to Derek. No, we're not asking that one.
Already answered.
Let's go to Paramarv. Have the forest people ever mentioned things like Inner Earth or Mel's Hole?
Inner Earth, yes, not Mel's Hole. The Inner Earth, yeah, they talk about what is living in the Inner Earth, some good, some bad. They have talked to me about the sleeping dragons, which are dragons that are in Inner Earth that have stayed dormant for a long time. Some of them actually did come out back, God, when was it? Last April when we had that fake eclipse. And they've talked about that. They've talked about being in Inner Earth. They've talked about when the beings from Inner Earth come out. Yes.
That's it for audience questions tonight. Let's go into the idea that this creature is, or these creatures are telepathic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the reason why I'm asking that, and I didn't ask you this last week, but I'll ask you tonight. I've been getting visions of Dogman being at my site now.
Yeah, generally what that is they're connecting with you and letting you know that they're going to be there. It's all part of the process. The longer you're in this, nothing stays the same. It's a progression. So one of the ways they do that and communicate with you is exactly that way. Now, I will tell you this, that is one form of mind speak. Mind speak is not just words in your head. It's thoughts, images, a picture that plays, a sense of knowing, all of those things. So you're getting mind speak. And they will do it in dream state and they will do it when you're awake.
The vision that I have, and as I've told you, going into this spot that I will start investigating next month, is I'm sitting behind my Jeep like they want me to, but in front of my Jeep, about, I'm going to say 20 to 30 feet, maybe 40 feet on the right-hand side, there's going to be a Dogman there. I'm not going to personally know it's there, but a camera is going to pick it up.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if that happens. And to me, that sounds like they're giving you permission.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm scared as hell.
Yeah, you need to just go about doing what you're doing as if nothing has changed. Pick up the energies. If it feels like it's not safe, it's not safe. You want to be, on your tiptoes and just get a feel of the place.
The idea behind that, though, is that I know that they're going to let us know when it's time to leave.
Oh,
It
they
could
always do. Yeah.
It could be 30 minutes. It could be 5 hours. It could be 6 hours. It
Yeah.
could be an hour and a half. I
Yeah.
get that. And I'm comfortable with that. But to throw Dogman in that picture, in that area, knowing that I have a legitimate fear of that.
And that can go two ways. It could be this is a teaching for you to try to help you overcome that fear. Or if it is a bad one, it's using and playing on that fear. It doesn't, I mean, you're not feeling anything bad as of yet. So I would say this is a teaching for you to help progress you in what you're learning on your journey with this.
I get that, and I can appreciate that. I think the issue with that I do have is whoever they are, because I'm allowing the phenomena to take this over, and I'm going to follow what the phenomena has to say.
Yeah.
They have not mentioned my safety yet.
Yeah. But you can also, when you're getting those images, Dave, know that you can, in your mind, ask them a question. Even if you don't know that if you're getting the mind speak or not, which clearly you are, you can ask them a question and just say, I would encourage this encounter as long as it comes with a pure heart and peace in your heart.
Already done that.
Yep, good. See, you're on top of it. You're on top of it.
They haven't answered. Robin, thank you for another great show.
Yeah, thank you. I love it.
And we will talk to you next week, my beautiful friend.
You got it. I will be there. And you will, before next week, have your tickets.
Right on, Robin.
Okay, bye.
Remember, this show is copyright by Space Out Radio and SUR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Let's together, my friends.
We're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Buffalo. We defend you to fall. We need you. Expose you. Right now you're out there somewhere. Watching me. Yes, the road train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Cheap trains available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Great job, Robin.
Thank you. And for all those people with the bizarre questions, if I might just say one thing, it goes against their laws, and that's punishable by death for them. So nothing that anybody has to worry about.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be doing a lot more screening of questions now.
Yeah, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. When the Ketchum study went out on the DNA, what took away from people focusing on what was actually in the paper and the DNA were stupid things like that. No. Never have I ever had that kind of experience with them. I've been out in the woods my whole life with them. That is not what they do. That's not what they are about. And it is forbidden in their culture. And if anybody tells you that they have that kind of experience, no.
And I apologize because I don't screen my questions.
Oh, that's all right.
Do so.
No, I'm not offended. It takes
that's
more
fine.
than that to offend me. You know, you get people that they just think it's all funny and it's all games, and it's not. And, you know, that is just one of those things that culturally wise, they will put them to death for anything like that.
Yeah.
So, well, I love you. I will be back next week and I can't wait to talk to you, and I will get you your tickets over.
All right, my beautiful friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, you take care, sweetheart. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Paul, don't ever insult my guest. Give me a sec, guys. I haven't really noticed a difference. Maybe a little bit in the meat, Joe. But it seems to be pretty much the same on the vegetable end. Oh, that's wrong. Why am I doing that there? Should open. that. Close that up. Go here. There we go. Jerry, you got to fight through the itchiness. Once you fight through it, you're fine. It's only there for a few days. Phil Jones, how are you? All right, got that done. Boom, boom. Right. Joe, I didn't even see outside of the hotel, barely. Like when you go to a conference, it's not like you're touring around, going anywhere. I wish it was. But unfortunately, I didn't even get to meet up with a friend of mine, Richie, down there. I didn't get to meet up with Geraldine. It was so 906, 916, 18, 20 should be around here. Apparently, there's quite a sharp edge on it. Do not speed down this road when you're going down. Because
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Go off the side, eh?
Oh, I didn't even know they were there, man.
Now you know. See, that's why I'm here tonight, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations. You happen to be where one of the impetuses to my entire research is based on the Bella Coola petroglyphs and the Taino petroglyphs of the Caribbean, because that's how I got involved. You know, the Nazca mummies came across my timeline like everybody else's, and I think I dismissed it. It was actually my girlfriend who said, "Hey, did you see these? You might want to look into these." And then after doing the research and literally talking to some of these people and seeing the evidence for myself, there was a moment where it was like one of those light moments that sort of, I mean, it was, I hate to say it was like a spiritual awakening. Oh, and I said, oh shit, oh sugar. It was, I hate to say awakening. Oh, and I said, oh shit, oh sugar. Shit. Oh sugar. I said, oh sugar.
Beautiful.
We remember. Sorry about that.
Man, Robbie G couldn't even do that better. I swear I saw a shark leaving the when we took off and went over the water. I swear I saw a shark. I can't prove it. My imagination said shark all the way, or at least my eyes said shark all the way. And it looked like there was, I swear there was two fins. Obviously, the dorsal fin and the tail fin. Maybe. I'm going to call it a shark, though. It's my story. I'm going to call it a shark. Could have been a dolphin. I don't know. Maybe it was just the white caps turning and there was nothing there. I don't know. That's what I thought, Robbie. Megalodon. It's always Megalodon. I'm writing a book. I just got to find time in order to finish it. Never have time, but we're going to improve on that. I'm about half done.
Eels, and which way to get your.
It's okay. This gives us a reason to bring you back.
No way. We have to open just the right amount of proto-amphibian. What am I supposed to think, Dave? We have Naki mythology now because the mother serpent goddess.
Research.
Little cute inties.
Who's going to write my foreword? I have a couple people in mind for that. Hopefully Grant Cameron. I haven't asked him yet, but I got to get my ass on my book first. If not, we'll find someone else. I need that, Robbie. Thank you. The final half hour Spaced Out Radio tonight. Robin Haynes is here with the Crypted Report. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone. I knew I cut off that intro. There we go. Thank you, T-Bone. Have a great night, T. Thank you for your super chat. Science Bob tomorrow night. We're going to be bringing on Leela Hutchison. Get your ear. All right, everybody, we're going to let you go for tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow with Science Bob. Thank you tonight to Dead Man Times 2, Pam Harris, Candace, and T-Bone for the super chats. If you're new, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week. I'm here Monday through Friday. Sweet Robbie G is here for the weekends. We love having a good time getting all this going for you. We will see you all tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Have a good one, everybody. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.